A very good evening to all my dear students. I can see that many of you have already joined. Dhyanesh, Mariam, Srija, Gomati, Anki, Anish, Suman. So students, welcome to today's session for chapter number 1. So students, before starting the session for today, I would like to ask you whether the homework that I gave you in the last session, whether that has been done or not, and whether you have read the entire chapter till where we have covered in the last session along with the illustrations and examples. And students, I'm repeating it again and again that if you go through the entire module, including the illustrations and the examples that are given in your module, that will definitely help you in preparing for the MCQs or the practical based, like the questions based on practical audit situations. Okay? So if you have not gone through the chapter, so abhi to we are on the second session, Hana. So do it today, right? So in case of any query, you can send in the query to me. So let us start with today's session. And today, before starting with a very important topic, which is inherent limitations of audit, let us just quickly in 5 minutes revise as to what we have done in the last session. So we started with the definition of audit, whereby we understood that audit is an independent examination of financial information of any entity, whether profit-oriented or not, and irrespective of its size and legal form, when such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. Okay? Then we saw that the auditor should ensure he should satisfy himself with respect to the following in order to be sure that the financial statement do not mislead the users of the financial statement. That is, the account should have been drawn with reference to entries. Entries should be supported by sufficient appropriate audit evidence. None of the entries should have been omitted. Information should be clear and ambiguous. The financial statement amount should be classified, described, and disclosed as per the accounting standards, and the statement of accounts presented true and of the operational results, that is the P&L, and the assets and liability, that is the balance sheet, right? Then objectives, we saw that the objectives of audit are contained in essay 200. The name of the essay is what? Overall objective of the independent auditor and the conduct of an audit in accordance with standards on auditing, right? So what are the objectives? To obtain reasonable assurance that whether financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud and error, thereby enabling the auditor to express an opinion on whether the financial statements are prepared in all material respects in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Now, I expect that what is meant by reasonable assurance, material, financial reporting framework is all clear to you, right? We have discussed all these topics in detail in the last session. And the second objective is to report on the financial statement and communicate as required by the essay in accordance with the auditor's finding, right? Now the scope is basically the reach, the coverage. So basically the first point says it needs to adequately cover all aspects. And what are those all aspects? That is the next topic. So all aspects that are relevant to the enterprise, but relevant to what? Financial statements being audited, right? Then whether the information contained in underlying records like the ledgers, the general entries, and the source data. Source data, I gave example of what? Invoice copies, agreements, is reliable and sufficient. And how to do that? Auditor will be performing the procedures mentioned here in point number 4. That is, he'll study and evaluate the accounting system and internal control. Now, you all must be aware now that as such, auditor is not required to give his opinion on the internal control, right? But yes, since internal control is designed, implemented, and maintained by the management with respect to preparation, presentation of financial statements. So yes, he will study and evaluate the internal control, right? Rest with respect to internal control, the details are in chapter number 4. Then the second point is carrying out such test, inquiries, and verification procedure as auditors consider correct, right? Then point number third is that the information that is contained should be properly disclosed, and how to do that is given in point number 5. That is by comparing the financial statement with the underlying accounting records and source data, whether these have been properly summarized, and then considering the judgments made by the management and assessing the selection and consistency of the accounting policies, right? Then anything which fall outside the scope of the competence of the auditor, he is not supposed to do that. He is not expected to perform that duty. And in case any constraint is what limitation is imposed on the scope of audit by the management. So he will consider the effect of such constraint on his audit report by either modifying his audit report. Like basically these provisions are contained in chapter number 11. So basically just try to understand that he will consider the impact on the type of opinion that will be given. Okay. Aspects is very simple. Examination of system of accounting internal control, then reviewing the systems and procedures, arithmetical accuracy, authenticity, validity of transaction, then whether proper distinction between capital and revenue items have been made, whether balance sheet and P&L are in comparison, are in line with what underlying the records, right? Then verification of assets, liabilities, P&L, statutory requirements, and then reporting to the appropriate person. Authority. Types of audit required under law, that is your Companies Act, banking companies or any other statute, and voluntary category like your partnership firms, HUF, proprietary entities. Why will they get the accounts audited voluntarily? Because it may be because of the internal rules, or maybe government has required because government has given certain grants, or maybe because of the advantages of audit. Okay? So this I have given you as a homework. I hope it is clear. Okay. So I hope this is clear. In case of any doubt in this homework on page number 1.8, you can always send in your queries. What are the advantages? I told you that how to understand this topic. So whoever are the users of the audited financial statement, the benefits will be to them only. Like it safeguards the financial interest of those not associated with the management of the entity, like shareholders, banks, right? Then acts as a moral check on employees. Then I told you that settlement of what? Liability for taxes, of trade disputes, and settlement in case of what? Accounts in case of admission or death of partner, right? Then helps in detection of wastages and losses. Then it reviews whether necessary books of accounts have been properly kept. It reviews existence operation of various controls. And last but not the least, helps in government may require audited financial statement, like when the some license is to be obtained, right? Then we have discussed the topic of what? The relationship of auditing with various disciplines. That is, disciplines as various subjects. Okay? So apart from auditing, an auditor should have an understanding of various subjects like accounting, law, economics, behavioral science, statistics, mathematics, data processing, financial management, production, and others also like marketing and all, right? So this was again the homework that I've given to you. In case of any doubt, you can always send in your queries. Okay? Since I cannot see any doubt relating to these topics, so I'm considering that it is clear. Okay. And in case of any doubt, just mail it to me. So who is saying? Okay. In case of any doubt, if you are still typing it, I'll take it at the end of the session. Okay. So now we'll be starting with a very important topic, which is what? Inherent limitations of audit. Okay. Now students, tell me, what kind of assurance an auditor obtains when he's conducting an audit? In the last session, we have done this topic in detail. Quickly, I need answers. Then only I'll proceed further. So the topic is inherent limitations. Okay. So tell me. So we have understood in the last session, Hannah, that the auditor obtains a reasonable assurance when he is conducting an audit. And in fact, the objective is to obtain what? Reasonable assurance as to whether the financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud and error. Now, what is reasonable? It is a high level of assurance right? But it is not absolute assurance. 100% guarantee थोड़ी ना है that once the auditor has conducted the audit, there will be no misstatement whether due to fraud and error. And at that moment, I told you that the reason is because of the inherent limitations of audit. Why auditor obtains only reasonable assurance? Why not absolute assurance? Because of the inherent limitations of audit. Now, what is meant by inherent? Quickly send in your replies. What do you understand? Inherent. Inherent means within. There are certain limitations, constraints, which are present in the very nature of the term audit, because of which auditor obtains only what? Reasonable assurance. He cannot obtain absolute assurance, or he cannot give a guarantee, right, that after the audit there will be no misstatement whether due to fraud or error, right? So where is this topic contained? This is contained in SA 200, and I'm repeating the name of the essay again here: overall objective of the independent auditor and the conduct of the audit in accordance with standards on auditing, right? Now, students, before understanding this concept, let us get familiar with another term, which is what? Audit risk. Though this term is discussed in detail in chapter number 4, but for the purpose of this chapter, I'll just tell you in a minute or two about audit risk. Okay? So, as the name suggests, the risk associated with audit, right? And the definition is the risk that the auditor gives an inappropriate opinion when the financial statements are materially misstated. मतलब, I'll first explain this in Hindi. Auditor क्या बोल रहा है कि financial statements में सब कुछ बहुत अच्छा है, जबकि actual में क्या है, that financial statements कैसे हैं, उनमें कुछ गड़बड़ है, ठीक है? So, a risk that the auditor gives an inappropriate audit opinion. Inappropriate, which is not appropriate in the circumstances of the client, when the financial statements are materially misstated. मतलब कुछ तो material misstatement है, and since we as an auditor, we are concerned with what? Material misstatement. इसका मतलब the auditor should not have given us an opinion that financial statement reflected true and fair view, though one of the example can be what? That auditor should not have given the opinion that financial statement reflected true and fair view, though he has given it. Okay? So what is this? This is audit risk. Okay? Now this audit risk, the auditor is not expected to, and the auditor cannot reduce this audit risk to zero. Right? Auditor is not expected to, and he cannot, ना ही तो वो उस audit risk को zero कर सकता है, and ना ही we expect it from the auditor. Why? Again, because auditor obtains only reasonable assurance due to what? The inherent limitations. So if I ask you that why audit risk cannot be reduced to zero, why auditor is not expected to and cannot reduce audit risk to zero, or why auditor obtains only reasonable assurance and not absolute assurance, so the answer is where? It is in this topic, that is because of the inherent limitations of audit, because of some of the limitations within the very nature of the process of audit, जिससे कि 100% guarantee तो हम दे ही नहीं सकते हैं. Clear? Clear? ठीक है? So there are 4 limitations which are given by SA 200. So we'll be discussing all these limitations one by one. Okay? Now, see, students, in a very simple language, audit क्या है? देखो, audit क्या हो गया? That on the financial statements, auditor is performing certain procedures. है ना? On the financial statements, auditor is performing certain procedures, right? Now, one of the limitations, inherent limitations of audit can be what? The nature of these financial statements. Another inherent limitation can be what? The nature of these audit procedures. मतलब जो financial statement की inherent limitations हैं, that will become inherent limitations of audit also. Same way जो audit procedures के nature की inherent limitations हैं, they will become inherent limitations of again audit. ठीक है, because audit क्या है, financial reporting और financial statement पे auditor is performing what certain procedures. So the nature of financial statement is such that it has certain inherent limitation. Same way the nature of audit procedure is such that it has certain inherent limitation. So the 2 points, see what is the first point, the nature of financial reporting. Financial reporting is nothing but when the financial statements are presented. Same way nature of audit procedures. Okay, so we'll be discussing these 2 points. So nature of financial reporting. So it says that one of the inherent limitation of audit is the nature of financial reporting. Why? Because the financial reporting is such that it involves a number of management judgments. And students, you all know that judgments are what? Subjective in nature. What is meant by subjective? They will vary from one person to another. So if management may also vary, then how can auditor be 100% sure with respect to such judgments or such items which are subjective in nature? Right? So the very nature of financial reporting that it involves management judgment, certain subjective items which vary from one person to another from time to time. It becomes one of the inherent limitations of what? Audit. आज management is saying that 5% provision is to be made. Tomorrow management is saying no, 6% provision is to be made. Subjective decision. Subjective judgments are made by management which may vary from one person to another. So that is why the auditor cannot obtain what? Absolute assurance. Judgment है ना, कोई fact तो नहीं है ना. ठीक है? Is it clear? So this is what nature of financial reporting. So I told you that financial statements या financial reporting का जो limitation है, that becomes one of the inherent limitations of audit. Now auditor performs audit procedures on these financial statements. So the next point is what? Nature of audit procedures. Okay? So there was a doubt with respect to the difference between audit and investigation. Now we'll be doing that. Okay? With respect to audit pronouncement books, Anamika, I'll take up your doubt at the end of the session. So nature of audit procedures. See. So SA 200 says that the second inherent limitation for audit is, the reason is what? Nature of audit procedures. Of audit procedures in detail we will be doing in chapter number 3, but I've told in the last sessions that that the procedures that the auditor performs to conduct the audit, if the auditor is going through a document, that procedure is what? Inspection. If the auditor is observing something with his eyes, that is what? Observation. Okay? If the auditor is inquiring someone, it is what? Inquiry. So these are what? Audit procedures which are in detail in chapter number 3. Okay? But abhi ke liye just try to understand that the procedures that the auditor perform to conduct the audit, jo bhi audit activities hain. Now, see, when the auditor is performing the audit procedure, there are certain legal and practical limitations within the very nature of what? The audit procedures. Right? Now, why? So it says that it might be possible that management may intentionally or unintentionally do not provide complete information. Okay? Now, if the auditor has asked the management that management, please give me the details of all related party transactions. There are 20 related party transactions. Management has provided the auditor with details of only 5 related party transactions. Now, management has intentionally hidden these rest 50 transactions. So the nature of audit procedure is such that we can only inquire from the management. So when we are inquiring, management may itself not provide us whether intentionally or unintentionally complete information. Clear? Second, there may be fraud. Now, what is fraud? Again, fraud is what? Intentional. So it is mentioned in SA 200 that fraud is what? Sophisticated and carefully organized scheme. Sophisticated is what? Complex, complicated, and carefully organized scheme in order to conceal, which are designed to conceal the fraud, right? So agar koi fraud with an intention to conceal ki is hide, है ना. तो जो the audit procedures that the auditor will be performing, जैसे I told you inquiry, I told you inspection, I told you observation. So the nature of audit procedure is such that these audit procedure will become ineffective in identifying the fraud. Because वो तो जानबूझकर सोची समझी साजिश की गई है ना कि किसी को पता ही ना चले कि फ्रॉड हुआ है ना. And the third point says that audit is audit. It is not investigation. कोई investigate थोड़ी ना कर रहे हैं हम, कोई power search करने की power थोड़ी ना है. ऐसा थोड़ी ना है कि auditor may ask the management that management you may leave the premises, I'll search your premises for the other documents. नहीं है ना. It is an audit जहां पर हम reasonable assurance लेते हैं, and it is not investigation. The auditor is not given the powers of what? Powers like searching, है ना. So that is why the very nature of the audit procedure is such that if management is not providing the complete information or if fraud is there, then such audit procedures become ineffective in finding out that fraud or that incomplete information. Also, the audit is different from investigation. Now, what is the difference between audit and investigation? Let me just take you through the module for discussing this. ठीक है. So अभी सिर्फ ये वाला point I am discussing. An audit is not an official investigation into alleged wrongdoing. The auditor is not given specific legal powers such as power of search, which may be necessary for such investigation. ठीक है. अब investigation क्या होता है? What is audit? You all know that it is an independent examination of financial statement of, remember, financial information of any entity, whether profit oriented or not, irrespective of its size and legal form, where such an examination is conducted with a view to expressing an opinion thereon. Now, what is investigation? It is a critical examination for the accounts with a special purpose. With a special purpose. So, if fraud is suspected, and it is specifically called upon to check the accounts whether fraud really exists, it takes the character of investigation. So I can say that investigation starts with a preconceived notion of wrongdoing, कि कुछ गड़बड़ हो गई है, कुछ fraud हो गया है, कुछ wrong हो गया है. उसके बाद a person will be appointed to conduct the investigation, right? So preconceived notion होता है ना कि पहले से ही doubt होता है कि fraud हुआ है, उसको हम इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रहे हैं. बट ऑडिट में तो देयर इज नो सच प्रीकंसीव्ड नोशन ना. ऑडिट में तो आपको रीजनेबल एश्योरेंस ही ऑब्टेन करना है. yes, it might happen that when the auditor is conducting an audit, he might come across certain points which leads to an investigation. So where is it mentioned? It is quite possible that sometimes investigation results from prima facie findings of the auditor. है ना. ऑडिटर की फाइंडिंग तो ऑडिट में ही होंगी ना. इट मे हैपन दैट ऑडिटर हैज गिवन सम फाइंडिंग्स ऑफ सीरियस कंसर्न. सच फाइंडिंग्स मे प्रॉम्प्ट फॉर कॉलिंग एन इन्वेस्टिगेशन. ठीक है. सो देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन इन्वेस्टिगेशन एंड ऑडिट. ऑडिट का डेफिनेशन यू ऑल नो. इन्वेस्टिगेशन का क्या डेफिनेशन है? इट इज अ क्रिटिकल एग्जामिनेशन ऑफ द अकाउंट्स विद स्पेशल पर्पस. ठीक है. एंड सी इट इज रिटन हियर. Audit is never started with a preconceived notion about state of affairs, about wrongdoing, about some wrong having been committed. But fraud तो ऐसे ही होता है ना. Fraud का investigation तो इसीलिए होता है ना क्योंकि there is a doubt that some wrongdoing has been done, some wrong has been committed, right? And what is the relationship, if I ask you, between audit and investigation? So you can always say that sometimes investigation results from prima facie findings of the auditors. It may happen that auditor has given some findings of serious concern. Such findings may prompt for calling an investigation, right? Okay. Now, what can be the other difference? So I can say that audit is basically to judge the truthiness and fairness of the financial statement. And investigation is to establish a specific fact, whether fraud has been committed or not, right? Audit for a company will be conducted every year, but investigation will be as per the requirement, right? Is it clear? How to conduct the audit is mentioned where? In law, in standards on auditing, right? How to conduct investigation? Audit, I told you, in standards on auditing. Investigation is as per the terms of engagement with the client, right? So these can also be the difference, points of difference between investigation and audit, right? So abhi I'm not taking you through the module for inherent limitation. Abhi we have done only audit and investigation from the module. Okay? So there we were discussing what nature of audit procedure, whereby we saw that in case management itself provides incomplete information intentionally or unintentionally, or in case of fraud, the audit procedures will be ineffective. So why nature? Because the nature of audit procedure is such that they will become ineffective. Why? Because audit is audit. It is not an efficient investigation. Auditor has not been given various powers like power of search. And what is the difference we have done? Is it clear? Quickly send in your replies. Sapna, in point number 1, here, see, possibility that management or others may provide intentionally or unintentionally. So Sapna, here unintentionally is also covered. Fraud is always intentional, right? Sapna, is your doubt clear? Inspection, Sagar, inspection of a document means when I'm going through a document, inspecting it. Hana, and you will be reading it in chapter number 3 as one of the audit procedures. So a bit is what? Investigation. Okay? So Sapna, is your doubt clear? No, for investigation, an expert can always be like depending upon what is the nature of the fraud, the expert can be hired. But yes, with respect to audit, it is always conducted by a chartered accountant, an auditor. Okay? So Karthik, I hope the point number 1 is clear now. It basically says, which point number 1? Karthik, please specify which point number 1. No, power of search as such is not given to auditor. Rohit, is your doubt clear? Okay. So let me just take you through all the 4 points, then I'll take up all your doubts together. So timeliness of financial reporting and balance between benefit and cost. So the third limitation of audit is what? Timeliness of financial reporting and balance between benefit and cost. See students, there is always a time for financial reporting, a fixed time. AGM में अगर आपको audited financial statements चाहिए तो they are required, right? Now, when the auditor is performing the audit procedure, he is devoting his time and resources, Hana? Then he needs to maintain a balance between the benefit of that information and the cost involved. Cost involved in terms of what? His team, that is his resources and the time, Hana? So auditor has to maintain a balance between the benefit of obtaining an information ki kitna useful hai wo, vis-a-vis what is the cost involved, right? Further, it also says that, just a minute, let me just see, it might be a case whereby there is difficulty or a lot of time or cost is involved in obtaining certain information or in performing certain audit procedure. So SC 200 says that auditor, if there is any difficulty or some time or cost is involved, you cannot make it a valid reason for avoiding an audit procedure. You cannot say that since a lot of time and cost is involved, I will not verify the inventory. If you have to complete the auditing in time, considering the balance between the benefit and the cost, do appropriate planning. So it is mentioned here that appropriate planning assists in making sufficient time and resources available for the conduct of the audit. Clear? So it is basically saying that the matter of difficulty, time or cost involved is not in itself a valid basis for the auditor to omit an audit procedure for which there is no alternative. Appropriate planning assists in making sufficient time and resources available for the conduct of audit. Notwithstanding this, the relevance of information and thereby its value tend to diminish over time, and there is balance to be struck between the reliability of information and its cost. So the auditor has to maintain a balance between the benefit of obtaining an information and the cost in terms of the time and resources, right? But the auditor cannot say that since it is difficult to obtain this information, since time and cost is involved, so I'm omitting this procedure. SA 200 says auditor do appropriate planning, right? Is it clear? Right? Now, the last point is other matters. So there are other matters that affects the auditor's ability to detect material misstatement, which are what? In case of fraud, the auditor's ability to detect material misstatement is less. Fraud, and especially involving senior management or collusion. Collusion is what? When two or more employees or management personnel, they come together, mili bhagat, they come together to commit a fraud, right? The existence and completeness of related party transaction. Let's say the company has a number of related party transactions. The auditor performs one of the audit procedure, which is what? External confirmation. है ना? Chapter number 3 में डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे. But external confirmation क्या होता है? When the auditor wants to ask the debtor or the creditors that debtors, please tell me what is the balance of my client in your books. है ना? अब सामने वाली पार्टी related है, so it might be possible ना that party is not giving you correct answer. So this is again one of the inherent limitations. Clear? Then the occurrence of non-compliance with laws and regulations, again one of the inherent limitations, and future conditions or events that may cause an entity to cease to continue as a going concern. Today the auditor is saying everything reflects a true and fair view. Next day there is some natural disaster or the going concern is hampered, of the company is hampered. Then what? Right? So these are the other inherent limitations of an audit. So let us quickly read all these 4 points from the module, but before that, let me just have a look at your queries. Related party transactions, whose doubt is this? Yatiraj, related party transaction means, see, let's say in case of a company, some transaction is there with the company in which the director of that company has an interest, right? So some, let's say, let me just give you an example. A Limited is there, which is manufacturing what? Furniture. Okay? And X is director here. Now, furniture is sold to Mrs. X. Okay? Or a restaurant where Mrs. X is the owner. So this is the related party. Now, when the auditor approaches this company where Mrs. X has to reply, so chances are there that Mrs. X will not give what? Correct answer. Mr. X is also not giving correct answer. Mrs. X is also not giving correct answer. This is what? Inherent limitation. Now, why? Because auditor's ability to detect material misstatement kam ho jati hai na idhar. So related party par. Hana? The party which is related. Now, what is related party is defined. Hana? So, this is what? A related party transactions, and you will be doing this in detail in essay 550 in your chapter number 3. So wahan par who all are relative, who are all related, we will discuss that. See, whose doubt is this? Ayush. So future events or conditions that may cause an entity to cease to continue as a going concern. So what is the topic? That auditor cannot reduce audit risk to zero. Right? This is the topic. And what is the reason? Inherent limitations. Okay? Now, what is audit risk? That auditor gives an inappropriate opinion. So today, auditor is saying that financial statement reflect a true and fair view, and in evening, some disaster happens or something like that happens. Let's say there is a change in government policy, which has an effect on the entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Now, you will say that auditor has given an inappropriate opinion. Yes. Why? Because of this inherent limitation. That is what? Future events that may cause an entity to cease to continue as a going concern. Ayush, is your doubt clear? So, Krishna, with respect to reporting of fraud, in chapter number 5, we will be discussing in detail that if auditor finds any fraud, notices any fraud, then there is certain reporting requirement to the central government, to the board of directors and audit committee of a company. So your doubt will be cleared there. Okay, Krishna? Which third point? So Ashwin is asking me to explain the third point in Hindi. So it is basically saying, students, कि ऑडिटर ऐसा नहीं कह सकता कि कुछ ऑडिट एविडेंस लेने में उसको टाइम बहुत ज्यादा लग रहा है या कॉस्ट बहुत ज्यादा लग रहा है या इट इज डिफिकल्ट, तो मैं ये ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स नहीं कर रहा. ठीक है. ऑडिटर को क्या बोला गया? ऐसे 200 कहता है ऑडिटर अगर ऐसी कोई सिचुएशन है तो एप्रोप्रिएट प्लानिंग करो ना, है ना. हाँ, auditor has to maintain a balance between the benefit and cost. ऐसा ना हो that auditor ने अपने 4-5 आर्टिकल स्टाफ को लगाया हुआ है, 3 महीने से वो एक ही काम कर रहे जा रहे हैं, and when they have obtained audit evidence, उसका relevance, उसका use कम हो चुका है. Why? Because the relevance of the information, the usage of the information reduces with the time. ना, जो information आपको एक particular time पे जो उसका बेनिफिट है वो लेटर ऑन तो नहीं है ना. आप 3 महीने से उसी पे वर्क करे जा रहे हो, मीनवाइल मैनेजमेंट ने सब कुछ ठीक कर दिया, राइट. सो ऑडिटर हैज टू मेंटेन अ बैलेंस बिटवीन द बेनिफिट एंड द कॉस्ट. सो अश्विन, आई होप इट इज क्लियर. अच्छा बताओ, इज इट क्लियर? Every company, Mr. Vohra. So when you will study chapter number 10, you will see every company. It is mentioned for every company that they need to get their accounts audited. Okay. So Krishna, I hope your doubt is clear. Related party, Rohit, I hope your doubt is clear. Non-compliance is what? When you're not complying with the laws or regulations, है ना. Non-compliance, आप उसको follow नहीं कर रहे हो, आप उसको comply नहीं कर रहे हो. ठीक है. So Ayush, is your doubt clear? Krishna, you also reply. Related party के लिए Yatiraj, you also reply. Jyoti, non-compliance, I have explained it again. Okay, so let us again have a look at this very very important topic, which is what? Inherent limitations, है ना. तो क्या, what is contained? It basically says that auditor cannot reduce audit risk to 0 and he is not expected to, है ना. हम उसको बोलते भी नहीं है that you need to. So it is, auditor is not expected to and cannot reduce audit risk to 0 and cannot therefore obtain absolute assurance. Auditor obtains what? Reasonable assurance that financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Why? Because of the inherent limitation. So I told you that financial statements पे काम होता है और audit procedures perform होते हैं. तो इन दोनों का basically the 2 points relate to these only. So nature of financial reporting. The preparation of financial reporting involves judgment by management in the requirements of entities applicable financial reporting framework. Also, it involves items of subjective decision. Subjective is what? Which there is, which may vary from person to person, which may be in a range of acceptable interpretation or judgment that may be made. ठीक है. Nature of audit procedures. There are practical and legal limitations. क्या क्या है? There is a possibility that management or others may not provide intentionally. That is what? Fraud के intention से, और unintentionally, that is error की वजह से, the complete information that is relevant for preparation and presentation of auditor of the financial statement or that has been requested by the auditor. ठीक है. Then fraud, sophisticated. Fraud may involve sophisticated is complicated or complex. Carefully organized schemes designed to conceal it. उसको बनाया ही ऐसे जाता है, फ्रॉड ऐसे कमिट किया जाता है कि किसी को पता ही ना चले फ्रॉड है. तो अब ऑडिटर है ना, कोई सीआईडी थोड़ी ना है ना. जो ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स हैं, कोई स्पेशल पावर्स थोड़ी ना दिए हुए हैं. Therefore, audit procedures used to gather audit evidence may be ineffective for detecting an intentional misstatement. Example, collusion. Collusion is what? I told you that when two or more persons come together to commit a fraud. An audit is not an official investigation into the alleged wrongdoing. Accordingly, the auditor is not given specific legal powers. And these are what the differences between investigation and audit. And again, this is your homework. ठीक है. Timeliness. पहले क्या बोला हुआ है कि अगर आपको टाइम और कॉस्ट का प्रॉब्लम है, डिफिकल्टी है ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स परफॉर्म करने में, तो दैट इज ऑडिटर, वो कोई वैलिड रीजन नहीं है, आप एप्रोप्रिएट प्लानिंग कर लो। पहले हमने ये बोला, फिर हमने क्या बोला, पर हाँ ऑडिटर यू नीड टू मेंटेन अ बैलेंस बिटवीन द रिलायबिलिटी ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन एंड इट कॉस्ट। ठीक है, ठीक है। अदर मैटर्स which has an effect on the auditor's ability to detect material misstatement are what? Fraud, स्पेशली जहां सीनियर मैनेजमेंट इन्वॉल्व है ना। आप सीनियर मैनेजमेंट को ही तो जाके कंप्लेन करोगे ना, आप सीनियर मैनेजमेंट से ही तो डेटा लोगे ना। इफ दे आर ओनली इन्वॉल्व है ना, तो द पॉसिबिलिटी दैट ऑडिटर मे गिव एन इनअप्रोप्रिएट ओपिनियन, दैट इज ऑडिट रिस्क होगा, तो दैट इज हाई। द एग्जिस्टेंस एंड कंप्लीटनेस ऑफ रिलेटेड पार्टी ट्रांजैक्शंस एंड द रिलेशनशिप्स, सामने वाली पार्टी जो डेटर्स एंड क्रेडिटर्स है, मैक्सिमम रिलेटेड पार्टी है, तो इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं मिलेगी ना, करेक्ट, chances are there. Then occurrence of non-compliance when the law and regulations are not complied with, है ना, future events or conditions that may cause entity to cease to continue as a going concern. So I hope this is clear. This is the example, and this is the way of how to write in the exam. So many of you are asking, ma'am, how will we get question based on practical audit situation? So let us just discuss this. MNO Limited requested the auditor of CAP, so I am on page number 1.13, to provide absolute assurance in respect of 10 branches scattered in Delhi and confirm that financial statements are free from material misstatement whether due to fraud and error. तो देखो, absolute insurance confirm करना है, advice है ना, तो यहीं से पता चल रहा है ना, the auditor is not expected to and cannot reduce audit risk to zero and cannot therefore obtain absolute assurance. Why? Because of the inherent limitations. So where are inherent limitations given? So the name of the essay is mentioned. ठीक है, so nature of financial reporting, nature of audit procedures, वहां पे भी सो ना कि मैनेजमेंट इंटेंशनली अनइंटेंशनली इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं दे, फ्रॉड होता है या ऑफिशियल इन्वेस्टिगेशन नहीं है। टाइमलीनेस ऑफ फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग एंड बैलेंस बिटवीन बेनिफिट एंड कॉस्ट एंड अदर मैटर्स like fraud, your related party non-compliance with laws, transactions and future events. ठीक है, is it clear? So this is the way you need to prepare for your exams. ठीक है, and this question mark it as good explanation. वैसे तो the entire module is a good explanation, but it summarizes the entire concept of inherent limitation. देखो अभी क्या question है, be with me. DEF and Company Chartered Accountants successfully carried out the audit of Shree Garments for the financial year 1920. After completion of audit, there were found material misstatements due to fraud in the financial statements which were not noticed and reported by the auditor. Management alleges that it is a failure on the part of the auditor. है ना, मैनेजमेंट क्या बोल रहा है कि फ्रॉड हुआ था एंड ऑडिटर आपको नहीं पता चला, तो दिस इज फेलियर ऑन योर पार्ट। अब देखो फ्रॉड है, यू ऑल नो दैट दिस इज वन ऑफ द इनहेरेंट लिमिटेशंस ऑफ ऑडिट, है ना, अदर मैटर्स में हमने पढ़ा ना। ठीक है, सो देखो बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन किया हुआ है, तो प्लीज 2 मिनट ना क्वेरीज मत सेंड करो, जस्ट बी विथ मी। बिकॉज ऑफ द लिमिटेशंस ऑफ एन ऑडिट, there is an unavoidable risk that some material misstatement of the financial statement may not be detected, even though audit is properly planned and performed in accordance with SS. मतलब क्या है कि audit risk तो रहेगा, वो जीरो नहीं हो सकता। ठीक है, accordingly subsequent discovery of a material misstatement of the financial statement resulting from fraud or error does not in itself indicate the failure of the conduct of an audit in accordance with SA. अगर later on fraud आता है तो it does not imply कि audit ही गलत हुआ था। ठीक है, however अब auditor ये थोड़ी ना बोल सकता है that since there are inherent limitations of audit, तो आई एम नॉट परफॉर्मिंग दिस प्रोसीजर, तो इसलिए ये गड़बड़ हो गई। ऑडिटर को भी तो ये नहीं बोल सकता ना, ऑडिटर को क्या बोला गया, हाउएवर इनहेरेंट लिमिटेशंस ऑफ एन ऑडिट आर नॉट अ जस्टिफिकेशन फॉर द ऑडिटर टू बी सैटिस्फाइड विद लेस देन परसुएसिव ऑडिट एविडेंस। परसुएसिव क्या होता है, परसुएसिव इज व्हाट, कन्विंसिंग, है ना, कि ऑडिटर कन्विंस हो जाता है कि हाँ ये सब कुछ ठीक है, ऐसा एविडेंस तो ऑडिटर को लेना पड़ेगा ना। ठीक है, सो कन्विंसिंग एविडेंस तो ऑडिटर को लेना ही पड़ेगा. ऑडिटर ये नहीं कह सकता है बिकॉज ऑफ द इनहेरेंट लिमिटेशंस आई एम नॉट ऑब्टेनिंग ऑडिट एविडेंस. Persuasive is what? Convincing. So it is saying that auditor cannot say that I'm satisfied with less than persuasive audit evidence. ठीक है? Whether the auditor has performed an audit in accordance with essays is determined by. वो कैसे पता चलेगा? पहले हमने क्या बोला कि unavoidable risk है. Audit risk तो रहेगा. सेकेंड हमने क्या बोला? बट ऑडिटर यू कैन नॉट टेक अ प्ली कि ऑडिट रिस्क तो रहेगा तो इसलिए ये गड़बड़ रहेगी. तो अब लास्ट में हम क्या बोल रहे हैं? हाउ विल देन यू सी वेदर ऑडिट हैज बीन कंडक्टेड इन अकॉर्डेंस विद एसए. कैसे देखेंगे? बाय लुकिंग एट द ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स परफॉर्म्ड, बाय लुकिंग एट वेदर सफिशिएंट एंड एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस हैज बीन ऑब्टेन्ड एंड वेदर द रिपोर्ट व्हिच द ऑडिटर इशूड इज सूटेबल और नॉट. है ना? ये सब देख के, ये सब मद्देनजर रखते हुए वी विल डिसाइड और इट विल बी डिसाइड एज टू वेदर ऑडिट हैज बीन कंडक्टेड इन अकॉर्डेंस विद एसए. है ना? स्टूडेंट्स, इन चैप्टर नंबर 3 वी विल स्टडी अ कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ ऑडिट डॉक्यूमेंटेशन. अब आप बोलोगे ऑडिटर ने क्या किया, ये आप बाद में कैसे देखोगे? ऑडिटर ऑलवेज मेंटेन्स ऑडिट डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, कि वो जो भी काम करता है ना थ्रू आउट द ऑडिट उसको एक फाइल में लगाता जाता है. लेटर ऑन इट एक्ट्स एज अ सेफगार्ड, कि कल को कोई फ्रॉड आता है तो ऑडिटर दिखा सकता है ना कि देखो मैंने तो अपना काम अकॉर्डिंग टू एसेस किया था. राइट? सो ये हम कहाँ डिस्कस करेंगे? चैप्टर नंबर 3 में डिटेल में. ये समझ आता है कॉन्सेप्ट इनहेरेंट लिमिटेशन का. पहले हमने क्या बोला? अनअवॉइडेबल रिस्क है, ऑडिट रिस्क रहेगा तो ऑडिटर को सेफगार्ड किया. बट ऑडिटर इसका अनड्यू एडवांटेज ना लेना. हमने ऑडिटर को क्या बोल दिया कि ऑडिटर देखो आपको लेस, यू कैन नॉट बी सैटिस्फाइड विद लेस देन परसुएसिव ऑडिट एविडेंस. ठीक है? कन्विंसिंग ऑडिट एविडेंस तो ऑब्टेन करना ही पड़ेगा आपको. ठीक है? और अगर नहीं कर पा रहे तो कंसीडर द इफेक्ट ऑन द ऑडिट रिपोर्ट. है ना? कैसे करना है वो चैप्टर नंबर 11 में देखेंगे. एंड देन इट सेज दैट बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स ऑडिटर हैज परफॉर्म्ड, बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ऑडिट एविडेंस ऑडिटर इज ऑब्टेनिंग एंड बेस्ड ऑन द रिपोर्ट की suitable है या नहीं, it will be decided as to whether the audit was conducted in accordance with essays. ठीक है? So समझ आया? We have devoted more than half an hour on this topic and I can devote another 5 more minutes. Why? Because this is a very important topic. है ना? So let me just have a look at the. So Ayush is asking ma'am whether we need to learn the name of the essays. तो देखो, I have told you students in the very first session that like a lot of concepts, a number of concepts are hidden in the name of the essay itself. अब जब आप देखोगे ना, देखो essay 200 क्या है? Overall objectives of the independent auditor. So if you get a question on overall objective, you can very well write that as per essay 200. Because why? Because you have learned that the name is what? Overall objectives of the independent auditor. And the conduct of the audit in accordance with essay. So you may get a true, false or MCQ that where is it mentioned or which essay says that the auditor needs to conduct the audit in accordance with essays. So it is hidden in the name itself. So why not? And it is not difficult. Hana? Overall objectives of the independent auditor and the conduct of the audit in accordance with essay. Hana? So whose doubt was it? Ayush, I hope. So Khojema, your doubt with respect to the period for which audit documentation is to be maintained, chapter number 3 में we will do it in detail when we will be doing essay 230 and SQC 1. है ना? Then Ashwin, your doubt is not clear. So reporting of fraud में Jyoti in chapter number 5, है ना, there is a detailed chapter on responsibilities of auditor in case of fraud. कि fraud अगर पता चलता है तो किसको report करना है. There is a limit given that up to this amount board of directors, audit committee, beyond that central government. है ना? So Jyoti, your doubt will be cleared. Be patient. I told you in the first session only that अभी बड़े सारे questions आएंगे because this is a new subject. है ना? तो अभी the topic that we are doing is very very important. है ना? ठीक है, you are able to apply your mind and you are able to ask a very valid question. ठीक है? But the very valid answer is what? We will be doing that in chapter number 5. ठीक है। सी कार्तिक, फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग का क्या पॉइंट है? ये क्या कह रहे हैं कि ये इनहेरेंट लिमिटेशंस कैसे है ऑडिट का, है ना? सो स्टूडेंट्स, देयर इज अ डाउट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू नेचर ऑफ फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग कि ये लिमिटेशन कैसे बना। देखो, आप जिस चीज को चेक कर रहे हो उसी में कुछ लिमिटेशन है, तो वो जो प्रोसेस आप परफॉर्म करोगे वो 100% एब्सोल्यूट एश्योरेंस नहीं आएगा ना, बिकॉज कुछ ना कुछ डिफरेंस विल बी देयर। व्हाई? बिकॉज देयर आर जजमेंट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट इन्वॉल्व, है ना? And there are certain items which are subjective in nature, like provision. A 5% फाइन है या 7% फाइन है, मैनेजमेंट ने अपना जजमेंट अप्लाई किया है ना? इट माइट बी पॉसिबल ना कि मैनेजमेंट ने आज 5% प्रोविजन बना दिया, आफ्टर अ वीक कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है एंड द एंटायर डेट बिकम्स व्हाट? बैड डेट. नाउ since management judgment was involved, based on that, auditor said that financial statement reflected true and fair view. Within, let's say, 4-5 days, it happens that the 100% provision was to be made, है ना? Because it converts into a bad debt. तो अब बताओ, the inherent limitation which are present in the very nature of the financial statements, the way they are reported, है ना? That becomes the inherent limitation of audit. Clear? Whose doubt was it? Acha, there is a very common doubt with respect to auditing pronouncements. To students, I like to tell you that we are doing the entire syllabus from our ICAI module. Okay? There is auditing pronouncements also, whereby the essays are given in detail. So, वैसे तो whatever is mentioned in your module, you first need to concentrate on that. The part of essays that is in your syllabus is given very well in your module, right? But still, if you are keen, still you have the interest of reading in detail, and in case you have time, you can always go through those pronouncements. So I've told you that the essays are given in detail, Hana? But what will come in your examination, the syllabus part, that is given in your module itself. Okay? So अगर किसी को बहुत ज्यादा मन कर रहा है कि नहीं प्रोनाउंसमेंट्स पढ़ने हैं, एक बारी देखना है एसेस कैसे होता है, तो यू कैन ऑलवेज हैव अ लुक एट दी प्रोनाउंसमेंट्स. See, inherent limitations क्या होते हैं? अश्विन, with respect to your doubt, अश्विन is saying, मैम it may happen कि ये है या नहीं है, ये inherent limitations. तो कोई तो situation होगी ना जहां absolute होएगा assurance. So see students, these are inherent. Inherent क्या होता है? मतलब within the very nature. फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट में प्रोविजन तो क्रिएट होगा ही होगा ना, मैनेजमेंट जजमेंट वहां लगेगी लगेगी ना. ठीक है? सेम वे ऑडिट प्रोसीजर जब आप परफॉर्म कर रहे हो, यू विल स्टडी इन चैप्टर नंबर 7 की सैम्पलिंग बेसिस पे भी चेक होता है. 100% चेकिंग इज नॉट पॉसिबल. जहां हम बेनिफिट एंड कॉस्ट की बात कर रहे हैं इन पॉइंट नंबर 3, आप अगर 100% चेकिंग कर रहे हो, दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल ना. So sample basis पे भी तो checking होएगी ना. So the risk will always be there. ठीक है? Ashwin, is it clear? With respect to punishment and all, chapter number 10 is there. Sarfaraz. ठीक है? So now, let us now come to the next topic, which was standard setting process. Standard setting process. So we are referring to SA 200 again and again, है ना? So अब ये standards होते क्या हैं? कौन इशू करता है? If you remember in the last session, I have told you that standards basically why they have been made in order to provide a uniformity in the way as to how an auditor performs the audit, है ना? And I have told you in the last session that see, these are various kind of standards on auditing. ठीक है? So audit evidence. So I gave you example of this series, 500 series, that if the auditor has to perform audit procedure to obtain certain audit evidence. So these are the standards whereby all the auditors will be performing these procedures. Okay? Now, let us try to understand this entire standard setting process. I have made a summary. So let us just start from here. Try to just, listen to this as a story. The entire topic of standard setting process is going to be clear to you. ठीक है? स्टैंडर्ड सेटिंग प्रोसेस, ठीक है. सो देर इज वन इंटरनेशनल बॉडी विच इज जस्ट इंटरनेशनल फेडरेशन ऑफ अकाउंटेंट्स, IFAC, ठीक है. सो स्टैंडर्ड सेटिंग प्रोसेस है ना, कौन स्टैंडर्ड सेट करता है? सो वी आर डिस्कसिंग दिस. So there is an international body, what? International Federation of Accountants, IFAC, which was set up in the year 1977. And what was the purpose? To bring about a harmony in the profession of accountancy on international scale. So to bring about a uniformity in the profession of accountancy and auditing also on an international scale, that is worldwide. ठीक है. Now, with respect to auditing, IFAC established a board which is IAASB. What is IAASB? International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board. है ना? So, IFAC was set up in 1977. International Federation of Accountants, in order to bring about a harmony, uniformity in the profession of accountancy on an international scale worldwide, right? Later on, IFAC established IAASB, that is International Auditing and Assurance Standards Board. Why? To develop and issue in public interest high quality auditing standards to be used around the world. Right? There must be certain standards in the auditing profession. Then only there will be uniformity in the auditing practice throughout in the world, right? Now, IAASB, so there is a question as to what is the objective, why IAASB has been established, and how IAASB accomplishes such objective. So what are the objective? First one is what? To develop and issue in public interest high quality auditing standards to be used around the world. Okay. So who will be forming these standards? The IAASB, right? Then convergence of international standards and national standards, that there are certain international standards which are set up. So convergence is to make similar practice worldwide and nation specific also, right? How nation specific? See, IFAC का member कौन है? ICAI, है ना? तो इंडिया में कैसे कन्वर्जेंस होएगा? When ICAI is the member of IFAC, ICAI has also one of the body of ICAI is what? Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, which is AASB, which is the Indian counterpart of IAASB. ठीक है, इतना समझ आता है. Now, see, whatever will be the functions of IAASB, almost same will be the function of what? AASB. AASB is what? The Indian counterpart of International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board. Okay? So what is the objective of International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board? To, first of all, develop and issue in public interest high quality auditing standards to be used around the world, right? Convergence मतलब क्या होता है? एक जैसा बनाना international standards को भी and national को भी. And here I introduced you to the concept of AASB. कि कैसे बनेगा? Because AASB will in India develop and issue the standards for Indian auditors. ठीक है? It will increase the uniformity and quality of practice throughout the world. And since there is uniformity, since there is quality of audit work, then obviously there will be increase in public confidence. Simple है? ठीक है? So these are the objectives of IAASB. Now students, just try to understand that under the auditing and assurance now, there can be various kind of services like auditing, ठीक है, which is in detail in your syllabus. That is why we are studying what? Standards on auditing. There are review engagements which as such are not in detail in your study, but a reference is there with respect to as to what is review engagement. Assurance engagement, and the related services. So these three are what the assurance services, and this is a related services. ठीक है? Now what is auditing, review engagement, assurance engagement, related service? We will discuss that one by one. But अभी के लिए try to understand that ये सब क्या है? These are the various services in the field of auditing and assurance. ठीक है? Further, तो इन सब पे क्या होता है? इन सब पे standards will be made. And who will make that? International level पे IAASB, and India के लिए the Indian counterpart, which is AASB, right? These are what the various services, है ना? And in order to ensure that quality of all such services is maintained, there are standards on quality control, SQC, which are applicable on all these four kinds of activity. So जो four kind of services हैं उनको कैसे करना है उसके लिए there are specific standards, like audit कैसे करना है तो SAs हैं, review engagements कैसे करना है तो SREs हैं, assurance engagement कैसे करना है तो SAEs हैं, and related services कैसे करना है तो SRS है. But इन सब में quality maintain हो तो ये उसके लिए common क्या है? SQC, that is standard on quality control. Clear? Is it clear? ठीक है. नाउ अभी ये होता क्या है, आई डिस्कस दैट विद यू. अभी मैंने डिस्कस नहीं किया है, ठीक है. सो अभी डू नॉट सेंड मी एनी डाउट्स. अभी हमने क्या बोला, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ सर्विसेज कैन बी रेंडर्ड. तो ऑडिटिंग होता है, रिव्यू एंगेजमेंट्स होता है, एश्योरेंस एंगेजमेंट होता है, रिलेटेड सर्विसेज होता है. रिलेटिंग टू दैट देयर आर स्पेसिफिक स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑल दी सर्विसेज. देयर आर कॉमन स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन क्वालिटी कंट्रोल. अभी कौन करता है ये? इंटरनेशनल. कौन डेवलप करता है इन सब स्टैंडर्ड्स को? So one of the function of International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board is what? To establish the standards. और कौन कौन से standards? देखो, audit के लिए, assurance services के लिए, other assurance services के लिए. I told you ना that this is what? Audit. These are what? Review and assurance. So basically these three are assurance services. These are related services. इसीलिए उधर लिखा है ना non assurance, है ना? And then quality. So let us just have a look at it again. Financial audit के लिए, assurance के लिए, other assurance services के लिए, quality control के लिए. तो who establishes the standard? The IAASB. ठीक है. Further, it issues various pronouncements on auditing and assurance. Why pronouncements किस लिए होते हैं? To give any clarification, है ना? कुछ in order to increase the public understanding of the roles and responsibility of the auditor. Auditor क्या कर रहा है? ये कर रहा है ना audit. And assurance providers, that is these, है ना? So what is the function of IAASB? I can say that the function of IAASB is to establish high quality standards with respect to financial audit, to establish high quality standards with respect to various assurance services, to establish high quality standards with respect to related services, to establish high quality control standards, and to issue pronouncements on auditing and assurance, to increase the public understanding of roles and responsibility of auditor and auditors, audit and the assurance providers. ठीक है, क्लियर? इतना समझ आता है? अभी कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है तो आई एम नॉट लुकिंग एट द डाउट्स. ठीक है, तो हमने अभी क्या पढ़ा? IFAC है, इंटरनेशनल फेडरेशन ऑफ अकाउंटेंट्स, टू ब्रिंग अबाउट अ हार्मनी इन द प्रोफेशन ऑफ अकाउंटेंट्स ऑन एन इंटरनेशनल स्केल. ये 1977 में आया. ऑडिट के लिए एक अलग से बोर्ड है अंडर द ऑस्पिशियस, अंडर द एजिस ऑफ IFAC. IFAC के अथॉरिटी के अंडर ही क्या है? IAASB, इंटरनेशनल ऑडिटिंग एंड एश्योरेंस स्टैंडर्ड बोर्ड. व्हाट इज द ऑब्जेक्टिव? To develop and issue these high quality auditing standards in public interest to be used throughout around the world. Convergence of international standard and national standards, uniformity increase होएगा, quality होएगा, increase in public confidence होएगा. तो ये कैसे करता है IASB? By establishing high quality standards for financial audit, for assurance services, for related services, for quality control, and pronouncements on auditing and assurance to increase the public understanding of roles and responsibility of auditor and assurance providers. Clear? अभी पर complete नहीं हुआ है. Then I told you that Indian counterpart IASB क्या है? AASB, and ICAI is a member of what? IFAC. ठीक है. So AASB is what? Auditing and Assurance Standard Board. ठीक है. So ICAI implements the guidelines issued by IFAC and ICAI has constituted AASB. Why? To review the existing auditing practice and develop engagement and quality standards. Simple है ये, ठीक है. Now students, there was a clarity project of IAASB. Clarity as the name suggests, that in order to improve the clarity of international standards, in order to increase the quality of the international standards, the international standards were revised and redrafted. है ना? So IAASB, it's initiated what? Clarity project. ठीक है? On the same lines, AASB in 2007, it also issued the revised and new standards which you are studying. Okay, clear? Now, what are these standards? So these are standards on auditing SAs, standards on review engagement SREs, standards on assurance engagement SAEs. Just a minute. Okay. Standards on related services SRS, and on all these to maintain the quality, standards on quality control. Okay. Now, what is standard on auditing? Standard on auditing is in detail, है ना, in your syllabus. ठीक है. So standards on auditing क्या होता है? These are the standards that are to be applied when the auditor is conducting the audit of historical financial information. And now you all know why, to obtain a reasonable assurance. Clear? Simple है, ये तो हमने पढ़ा ही है. ठीक है. Now standards on review engagement SREs क्या होते हैं? तो review क्या होता है? It is not full-fledged audit. So here auditor is not required. The person, the chartered accountant, he is not required to conduct a full-fledged audit. है ना? He performs certain procedures. For example, to review the interim financial information. So here, when the person appointed is reviewing the interim financial information, so it is not audit. ये क्या है? Review engagement. And in that case, SRE will be applicable. हाँ, SQC will be applicable everywhere. है ना? Quality तो maintain करना ही है ना. ठीक है? Same way, standards on assurance engagement. So this is with respect to what? Just a minute. Historical financial information. What is historical financial information? Where the financial information are based on what? Past events. है ना? Depreciation, amortization is provided, but it is based on what? Past events. Same way, review engagements में भी क्या है? Historical financial information के ऊपर आप review करते हो. But here, the auditor gives what? Limited assurance. कम काम कर रहे हो ना? सिर्फ, I told you ना, it is not full-fledged audit. रिव्यू कर रहे हो, ऑडिट, कंप्लीट ऑडिट नहीं कर रहे हो, है ना? तो लिमिटेड एश्योरेंस विच इज लेस देन रीजनेबल. यहाँ तो आप रीजनेबल एश्योरेंस दे रहे थे ना, वेयर बाय आई टोल्ड यू दैट इट इज अ हाई लेवल ऑफ एश्योरेंस, दो नॉट एब्सोल्यूट, है ना? एंड स्टैंडर्ड्स और रिव्यू एंगेजमेंट में सी एज द नेम, रिव्यू कर रहे हो बस, है ना? तो लिमिटेड एश्योरेंस देते हो, बहुत कम एश्योरेंस देते हो इसमें. ठीक है. फॉर एग्जांपल, रिव्यू ऑफ इंटरिम फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन. नाउ स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन एश्योरेंस एंगेजमेंट. सो दिस इज नॉट ऑडिट, this is not review, and this is not related to historical financial information. अगर historical financial information पे कोई service है, तो that will be audit, whereby SA will be applicable, or review, whereby SRE will be applicable, standards or review engagement or standards on auditing. Clear? Now, then what is assurance engagement meant for? So other than the historical financial information, so it deals with the subject matter other than historical financial information. Example, examination of prospective financial information, that is projections, future projection पर. देखो historical क्या होता है? Based on the history, the past events, है ना? पहले आपने किस कॉस्ट पे बिल्डिंग लिया था, या किस कॉस्ट पे प्लांट मशीनरी लिया था, प्लस माइनस द डेप्रिसिएशन और द एमोर्टाइजेशन, और right? Now with respect to the projected, these are what the financials are prepared based on for the future events, based on certain projections, right? So assurance engagement, so it has nothing to do with what? The historical financial information. Clear? So in case of assurance engagement, SAEs along with the standard on quality control will be applicable. Then related services. So what are related services? So here the keyword is what? Where the person is performing what? Agreed upon procedures. For example, let's say a client is there and it asks the person so appointed, the expert so appointed, that you examine the trade receivables of my company. So services are provided related to what? The agreed upon procedures. Certain procedures have been agreed. For example, examination of individual items of financial statement ki debtors pe na ye wala process karke you give me a report. Sales ke upar ya let's say creditors ke upar perform this procedure and give me a report. So what will be applicable? Standards on SRS, standards on related services, and along with that you all know that SQC will be applicable on all the four types of services. Okay? So mid-year, Anish, interim is what? Mid-year, Hana? So let me just take you through the module first, then I'll have a look at your queries. So standard setting process, role of IAASB. You can always get a direct question. And in fact, so far I remember I got a question on the role of AASB when I gave my exam. Okay? And I was not prepared with this question. So I wrote the answer on my own. But yes, I cleared in first attempt. So role of international auditing and assurance standards. So in 1977, the International Federation of Accountants was set up with a view to bringing harmony in the profession of accountancy on an international scale. Okay? What is the purpose? To develop an issue in public interest and under its own authority, high quality auditing standards. Okay? So what are the objectives? Dekho, to serve public interest by setting high quality standards, convergence of international and national standards. है ना? कैसे होगा? IASB का काउंटर पार्ट कौन है? AASB. AASB फॉलो करेगा जो IASB कर रहा था. तो IAASB international standards बनाए, AASB will make the Indian national standards. ठीक है? Enhancing the quality, uniformity, फिर public confidence increase होगा. How? So what is the function of IAASB or how IAASB achieves the objective? A straightforward question can always come. Okay? So establishing high quality auditing standards for financial statement. देखो यहाँ audit की बात हो रही है. High quality standards and guidance for other types of assurance services, both financial and non-financial matters. High quality and standards and guidance for other related services. Then high quality standards for quality control. Publishing other pronouncements on auditing and assurance matters, thereby advancing public understanding of roles and responsibility of professional auditors and assurance service providers. So students see, it is given here. Apply in the audit of historical financial information, apply in the review of historical financial information, apply in assurance. See, don't get confused between insurance and assurance. Assurance तो क्या होता है? Confidence. Insurance तो you all know, है ना? ठीक है? So dealing with the subject matters other than historical financial information. So let's say if a person has been appointed to give a report with respect to internal control. So historical financial information pe to he is not giving any assurance na, so that will also come here. Okay? SRS, apply to engagements to agreed upon procedures to information and other related services such as compilation agreements, engagements. Okay? So international IASB ka we have seen ki what is the role. Now AASB. ICAI is a member of IFAC and is committed to works towards implementation of guidelines issued by IFAC. ICAI constitute AASB. Erstwhile is what? Earlier, former, or earlier it was known as what? Auditing Practices Committee, to review existing auditing practices and to develop engagement and quality control standards. These four, these are called what? Engagement standards. Engagement is what? You are engaging with the client now. So engagement standards. And SQC क्या होता है? Standards on quality control. ठीक है? So you can role of auditing and assurance standard boards. It is almost the same as IAASB. So I am giving 8.2 as a homework. You need to go through it. ठीक है. नाउ स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन ऑडिटिंग क्या होते हैं, देखो अब क्विकली हम रीड करेंगे. ऑडिट ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन में लगते हैं, वेयर एज SRE कहाँ लगते हैं, रिव्यू ऑफ हिस्टोरिकल फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन. नाउ व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन ऑडिट एंड रिव्यू. ऑडिट में ऑडिटर गिव्स एन रीजनेबल एश्योरेंस, ही गिव्स अ रीजनेबल एश्योरेंस, बट रिव्यू में क्या है, लिमिटेड एश्योरेंस है. Standards on auditing apply in audit of historical financial information, which is reasonable assurance engagement, whereas standards on review engagements apply in review of historical financial information, which is limited assurance. देखो ये all four categories are what, engagement, है ना. You are engaging with the clients. ठीक है. Historical financial information means information expressed in financial terms in relation to particular entity, derived primarily from the entity's accounting system about economic events that happened during the past or economic condition at a point of time in the past. ठीक है. ऑडिट में क्या है, what now difference between audit and review is mentioned कि वो reasonable assurance देते हैं, और इसमें आप क्या देते हो, you are giving what, limited assurance. ठीक है. Now, here it is mentioned that essays in your course, there are number of essays like essay 200 on overall objective, essay 230 on audit documentation, 315 on identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. So this will be covering in chapter number 3, this will be covering in chapter number 2 and a little bit in 4 also. This again essay 500 in chapter number 3 and this again in chapter number 11. ठीक है. ऐसे 700. ठीक है. Then example of standards on review engagements are what, SRE 2400, SRE 2410. Why revised, अभी हमने पढ़ा ना, clarity project में revise हुए थे कुछ. ठीक है. So review of historical financial information या review of interim financial information. Interim is what, let's say quarterly, है ना. So जो annual नहीं होता है, interim is which is not annual, quarterly हो गया आपका जैसे. ठीक है. ठीक है. Then there is another set of standards which apply in assurance engagement dealing with subject matters other than historical financial information, which is what, assurance, है ना. Assurance में we have studied that historical financial information पे नहीं होता है. So assurance engagement related to examination of prospective financial information. Now what is prospective is given here. Prospective financial information means financial information based on assumption about events that may occur in future and possible actions by the entity. ठीक है. Then here it is mentioned what is difference between historical and the future, the projections, you can read it. Example are what, SAE 3400, SAE 3420 and prospective financial information, है ना. Lastly, standards on related services. These standards apply in engagements. देखो all four are what, engagements to perform agreed upon procedures, है ना. जो client ने बोला वो करके दे दिया regarding financial information. For example, engagement to perform agreed upon procedures may require the auditor to perform certain procedure concerning individual items, say account payables, that these are my account payables. Client may ask the person that these are my account payables, you perform all these procedure and give me a report. ठीक है. Example, SRS 4400, SRS 410 to perform agreed upon procedure regarding financial information. What is compilation engagement? Compilation engagement. So to see whether the financial statements are prepared in line with books of accounts, है ना, कि जो balance sheet और P&L है वो underlying books of accounts, ledgers, entries, ट्रायल बैलेंस इन सब से मैच हो रहा है नहीं, दैट इज व्हाट. अब ऑडिट तो है नहीं, रिव्यू भी नहीं है, देन दैट इज व्हाट, रिलेटेड सर्विस, है ना. ठीक है. सो it is clearly understood that all the above standards, that is SAs, SREs, SAEs, SRS, are collectively known as engagement standards. So if you get a question that write a short note on engagement standards, तो सिर्फ SAs नहीं लिखने हैं, standards on auditing नहीं लिखना है, सिर्फ you need to write all the 4 essays, all the 4 standards, that is standards on auditing, standards on review engagement, standards on assurance engagement, and standards on related services. Further, it is also to be remembered that standards on quality control are to be applied for all services covered by engagement standards, because आप institute को represent कर रहे हो ना, आप expert opinion दे रहे हो ना, या एक्सपर्ट सर्विसेज दे रहे हो ना, तो क्वालिटी तो मेंटेन करना ही पड़ेगा, बी इट रिलेटेड टू ऑडिट, बी इट रिलेटेड टू रिलेटेड सर्विसेज, एश्योरेंस है या रिव्यू है. यू आर रिप्रेजेंटिंग आवर इंस्टीट्यूट, द पर्सन, द चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट इज परफॉर्मिंग द एंगेजमेंट, सो क्वालिटी तो मेंटेन करना ही पड़ेगा. ठीक है स्टूडेंट्स, हाँ बस ठीक है. आई एम रिपीटिंग इट हियर अगेन दैट I cannot upload this Word file which I'm referring to you again. Why? Because I have told you in the last session also, because I write many things and I left many things in between while explaining you the concept. I write a number of short forms, है ना? So if I upload these files now, you may get confused. And summary में as such, I'm not writing anything. Or if you want, I'll do one thing. I'll share the screen. You can always take a screenshot ना. So standard setting process है, देखो. I'll just share the screen. Just a moment. So I've tried Jyoti to. She's saying, "Ma'am, easy way में बता दो." तो I've tried to simplify it, है ना? तो I'll do one thing. I'll देखो, है ना? You can always take a screenshot ना. अब देखो. So for all those who were asking me to share this, so this is the screenshot you can always take. ठीक है. So one more topic is left. Just a minute. In this standard setting process, but I'll do one thing. I'll quickly revise the standard setting process in 5 minutes, है ना? As Jyoti is saying. ठीक है. तो देखो standard setting process पे if you get a question, तो आपको क्या देखो, these are the keywords which I have written. Obviously, connecting language can be your own. So there is a doubt that, ma'am, can we write the answers in own words? Yes. Cramming, I told you, is not something which I recommend. हाँ, keywords तो pick कर ही सकते हो ना. Keywords तो pick कर ही सकते हो ना. अब IFAC को तो IFAC ही लिखना पड़ेगा ना. International Federation of Accountants तो लिखना ही पड़ेगा ना. Right? So try to pick up the keywords. So in order to bring harmony in the profession of accountancy on the international scale, IFAC 1977 में आता है. It establishes IAASB, International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board. So what are the objectives of IAASB? To develop and issue in public interest high quality auditing standards to be used around the world. उससे क्या होगा? Convergence of international standard and national standard होगा. उससे क्या होगा? Uniformity बढ़ेगी, quality बढ़ेगी of ऑडिट प्रैक्टिस थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड. उससे क्या होगा? पब्लिक कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ेगा. IAASB सब कैसे करता है? जितने भी एंगेजमेंट्स होते हैं ना, उन सबके स्टैंडर्ड्स, हाई क्वालिटी स्टैंडर्ड्स डेवलप करता है. देन स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन क्वालिटी कंट्रोल करता है और कुछ प्रोनाउंसमेंट्स देता है ऑन ऑडिटिंग एंड एश्योरेंस मैटर्स. प्रोनाउंसमेंट्स में क्या होता है? इन ऑर्डर टू इंक्रीज द पब्लिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग अबाउट द रोल्स एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ जो भी लोग ये काम कर रहे हैं, ऑडिटर्स एंड एश्योरेंस प्रोवाइडर्स. सिंपल है. IAASB का काउंटर पार्ट इन इंडिया इज व्हाट? AASB. Now ICI is a member of IFAC and ICI implements the guidelines issued by IFAC. ICAI has constituted AASB for reviewing the existing auditing practices and developing engagement and quality control standards. Clarity project of IAASB था, जिसमें क्या था? क्लैरिटी बढ़ाना है और क्वालिटी लेके आना है. सेम वे AASB ने भी 2007 में अपने कुछ स्टैंडर्ड्स को रिवाइज किया. एंड स्टूडेंट्स, यू विल सी इन योर मॉड्यूल अ नंबर ऑफ एसेस विल बी देयर वेयर बाय इन ब्रैकेट रिवाइज्ड विल बी रिटन, है ना? सो दिस दैट रिवाइज इज बिकॉज ऑफ दिस रिविजन. ठीक है. ठीक है. So what are these standards? Standards on auditing, on review engagements, assurance engagements and related services. इन सब services पे क्या होगा? Quality control होगा. इन सबको क्या बोलते हैं? Engagement standards बोलते हैं. Standards on auditing, audit होता है on historical financial information, reasonable assurance होता है. SRE is what review of historical information. I told you that auditor performs very less audit procedure like inquiry, analytical procedures, है ना, डिटेल में नहीं होता है, लिमिटेड एश्योरेंस होता है, जितना काम करोगे उस फिर कम ही इंश्योरेंस हो जाएगा ना. एग्जाम्पल, रिव्यू ऑफ इंटरिम फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन. एग्जाम्पल ऑफ इंटरिम फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन लाइक क्वार्टरली फाइनेंशियल इंफॉर्मेशन, राइट. स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑन एश्योरेंस एंगेजमेंट, तो ऑडिट से भी कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, रिव्यू से भी लेना नहीं है, एक historical information से भी लेना नहीं है, but like examination of what prospective financial information. SRS, that is with respect to agreed upon procedures, related services, है ना, कि आपके financial से ही related services है, जैसे examination of individual items of financial statement, debtors और sales. ठीक है, इन सब पर क्या लगता है, इन सब पर लगता है हमारा standards on quality control. ठीक है, so पहले tell me whether जो हमने ये standards setting process किया clear है नहीं, because I've tried to simplify it, है ना. So I'll do one thing, I'll just show you the word file again, but before taking the break I want all of you to reply. ठीक है, send in your replies. हाँ, questions I'll upload by tomorrow. ठीक है ज्योति, तो आर यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड? Pranav, send in your query again. Anish, whether your doubt with respect to interim financial statement clear? Yes, Krishna, with respect to your doubt, you have asked a very valid point with respect to international standards and standards on auditing. So in your finals, there is an explanation on this. Pranav, send in your queries again. Okay. So here we will do one thing. I hope now you have taken the screenshot. You can take a screenshot of this also. So we will take a break of 10 minutes here, and after the break, we will do topics like guidance notes, statements, and then elements of system of quality control. Very important topic. So be back after a break of 10 minutes. So I hope you all are back after the break. So I can see that many of you are writing, ma'am, yes, it is clear. So Rajput is saying it is clear. Then Harshita, Mariam, Pratima is saying understood. Anamika is saying perfectly clear, ma'am. Jessie is saying understood. Chalo, that's good. So, okay. Now, there is one topic left, which is what documents issued by the institutes, okay? By the institute or ICF. So there are two types of documents that are issued by our institute, which is what statements and guidance note. है ना? बहुत simple topic है. Let me just take you through the module. So see, compliance with documents issued by the institute. So there can be what guidance notes and statements on a number of matters which are issued by ICAM. So now, whether these are mandatory in nature, what is the responsibility of an auditor with respect to the statements or the guidance notes? So this is the topic. So it simply says, देखो, statements. So statements are what? These are mandatory in nature. So statements are issued with a view to secure compliance by the members on the matters which are mentioned there. Statements, let's see. Statements have been issued with a view to securing compliance by the members on matters which in the opinion of council are critical for the proper discharge of their functions. Statements are therefore mandatory in nature. Now, what is the responsibility of the auditor or with respect to such statement? So the member of the institute needs to examine whether the statements relating to accounting matters. See, statements relating to accounting matters will be followed in what? Preparation and presentation of financial statement. And statements relating to auditing matters will be in relation to what? Audit report or the audit. So with respect to accounting matter statements, to examine whether statements relating to accounting matters are complied with in presentation of financial statement covered by their audit. In the event of any deviation from the statement, it will be their duty, the members of the institute, their duty to make adequate disclosure in their audit report so that users of financial statement may be aware about such deviations. Agar koi deviation hai with respect to accounting matter, so auditor will mention it in his audit report. See, auditor ke paas to kya hai? Audit report wahi par mention hoega na. Same way, to ensure statements relating to auditing matters are followed in audit of financial statement covered by their audit report. If for any reason a member has not been able to perform an audit procedure in accordance with such statement, then he should draw attention to the material departures. Simple hai. So statements are mandatory in nature. And if these are not followed, if relating to accounting matters, auditor will mention it in his audit report. Relating to auditing matter, then also auditor will mention in his audit report. Now, guidance note, as the name suggests, ये guide कर रहे हैं members को, है ना? So guidance note, guide कर रहे हैं. So these are what? These are recommendatory in nature. है ना? तो recommendatory कि कोई matter है जिसपे the council of the institute thinks that there can be a problem, there can be a doubt. So in order to provide clarity, guidance, in order to provide guidance notes are issued. So these are designed to provide guidance to members on matters which may arise in the course of their professional work, on which they may rely in the course of their professional work. Okay, so these are recommendatory in nature, but ordinarily, generally, a member of the institute, he follows the recommendations. देखो, अगर कोई there is some guidance note, तो generally the practice is that we follow that guidance note in practice. ठीक है? So there are, however, a few guidance notes in case of which the council has specifically stated that these should be considered as mandatory on members while discharging their attest function. So simple guidance note क्या है? Recommendatory in nature होता है. Same way, see यहाँ पर क्या लिखा है? It is mentioned this only that if any guidance note are there with respect to accounting matter and the same is not followed. So statement के case में तो auditor was required to mention it in his report ना, that statement with respect to accounting matter has not been followed. यहाँ पर क्या लिखा हुआ है? If auditor consider it's necessary or the member of the institute consider it necessary, then he needs to mention it. See, except where he is satisfied that in circumstances of the case it may not to be necessary. Similarly, while discharging his attest function is when he is signing on any report, a member should examine whether recommendations in guidance note relating to accounting matter have been followed or not. If the same have not been followed, the member should consider whether, keeping in view the circumstances of a case, a disclosure in his report is required. वहां पर तो क्या लिखा था देखो, it will be their duty to make adequate disclosure. वहां तो requirement क्या है? Since these are what? Mandatory in nature. So if these are not followed, the same needs to be mentioned in the audit report. Same way auditing matter का भी. But guidance note, since these are what? Recommendatory in nature. So ordinarily तो member follow करता ही है. But in case relating to accounting matter, if it is not followed in the financial statements, or relating to auditing matter, it is not followed in the audit of the financial statement, then if auditor consider it's necessary that such and such departure has been made, so he need to mention it in his, he may mention it in his audit report if he consider it necessary. Clear, simple topic hai. So you may get a true false that the statements are and guidance notes are recommendatory in nature. So the answer is what? Incorrect. ठीक है? ठीक है? Is it clear? So simple topic. So the next topic is very interesting, which is what? Qualities of auditor. So quickly tell me what according to you should be the qualities of an auditor, and in order to understand this concept, just try to bifurcate these qualities as personal qualities and professional qualities, and now send in a word or two what in your view should be the qualities of an auditor. Auditor is one who conducts the audit. Now what should be the qualities of an auditor? Quickly send in your replies. Qualities of an auditor. I'll wait for next 5-6 seconds and then I'll start. So Rohit is saying honest, faithful. Sansari saying reasonable. Joshi is saying honest, proper investigation skills. ठीक है. Send in more replies. So Ashwin is saying can give assurance. मतलब knowledge होगा तभी तो assurance देंगे ना, है ना? So देखो बुक से ही पढ़ते हैं इसको भी, बहुत सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट है. पेशेंस, कॉन्फिडेंस, नॉलेजेबल, लीडरशिप, सिंसियर, प्रोफेशनल, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. ठीक है. तो क्वालिटीज ऑफ एन ऑडिटर. ठीक है. So he should have tact. What is tact? It is the art of getting things done by others. How to deal with people, है ना? किसी से काम करवाना है तो auditor should be tactful. So ability to deal with people without offending them, है ना? Caution, that is careful. Firmness, है ना? दृढ़ होना चाहिए ना कि कोई डेटा चाहिए तो चाहिए, मैनेजमेंट की बातों में नहीं आना ना कि that data is not available. Good temper, है ना? Integrity क्या होता है? Honesty. Straightforward, है ना? This we will be doing in detail today itself. Discretion is what? Decision making. Judgment, patience, clear-headedness, reliability. ठीक है? These are all. Then integrity, objectivity, independence. We will do this in detail later on. Then with respect to this, he should have knowledge of Companies Act. So these are what? Personal qualities. ठीक है? And these are relating to what? The profession. So Companies Act का knowledge, mercantile law का knowledge, है ना? If the company is governed by special statute तो उसका, जैसे banking company है या electricity insurance है तो उसका. Then taxation, economics, computers, law, information. So basically the relationship of audit with other disciplines, है ना? Clear? So you have mentioned a number of qualities which are absolutely correct. ठीक है? ठीक है. So just read it at home as a homework. Simple है. Personal qualities और professional में divide करोगे, you will be able to understand and learn also. ठीक है. Now students, we are we are discussing about the qualities of an auditor. Okay? Now tell me, suppose, let's take an example. So let's say ABC and Associates are appointed as statutory auditors of X Limited for the financial year 21-22. Okay? To conduct the statutory audit. And these are what? Firm of CAA, CAB, CA Amar, CA Vijesh, and CA Chaitanya. ठीक है? So 3 partners are there who have made a audit firm and they are the auditor of X Limited. ठीक है? Now ABC and Associates are appointed as auditors of X Limited, and the engagement partner, the firm is engaged with X Limited for statutory audit. ठीक है? But the partner who is engaged is, let's say, CA Amar. So CA Amar and his team will go to conduct the audit of X Limited. So who is the engagement partner here? CA Amar, है ना? Firm ABC and Associates को अपॉइंट किया है. तो अब जब ऑडिट रिपोर्ट बनाएंगे ना, तो लास्ट में जो सिग्नेचर्स होते हैं, तो CA Amar will mention his membership number, he will put his signature along with the registration number of the firm. ठीक है? तो एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर कौन होता है, समझ आया? ये एक ऑडिट एंगेजमेंट है, where ABC and Associates have been appointed to conduct the audit, statutory audit of X Limited. But who is the engagement partner? Is he CA Amar or CA Brijesh or CA Chaitanya? So the partner of the firm, audit firm, the partner who and whose team are going to conduct the audit, who is responsible for signing that report, they are what? The engagement partner. So ये अभी हम क्यों डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, अभी I'll just let you know. But पहले engagement partner होता कौन है? Let us just have a look. So engagement partner. So engagement partner is the partner, that is CA Amar in our example, or other person in the firm. Firm कौन सा था? ABC and Associates. Who is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He should be a member and is in full-time practice and is responsible for engagement, that is the audit engagement, its performance, जो भी audit procedures करने हैं, and for the report that is issued on behalf of the firm, and who, where required, has the appropriate authority from a professional, legal or regulatory body. है ना? Since he is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and he is having a full-time practice, he is appointed as what? The auditor and the engagement partner, and he has the authority to sign the audit report and to perform the audit procedures. तो ये कौन हो गया? Engagement partner. Partner तो CA Brijesh और CA Chaitanya भी हैं, but the partner who is engaged with the client X Limited is what? Here CA Amar. Clear? ठीक है? Is it clear? ठीक है. Now, when we are talking about qualities of an auditor, तो CA Amar की quality तो हमने discuss कर ली. ठीक है? Qualities of an auditor की personally, professionally, what all qualities he should have. Now the next topic is what? Elements of a system of quality control. Elements of a system of quality control. Now, students, when the audit will be conducted, will only CA Amar, he will go to conduct the audit, or he and his team? So quickly send in your replies. Answer to this is, first option is what? Only CA Amar. Second option is what? He and his team. Answer is 1 or 2. Quickly send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. He and his team. Hana? Pranav has answered it correctly. Rest also please reply. So the next topic is what? Qualities to theek hai, you have understood, but elements of a system of quality control. If the quality of the audit work is to be improved, is to be increased, then there needs to be a system of quality control. है ना? कहाँ लिखा है ये? SQC1 में. What is SQC1? नेक्स्ट सेशन में हम डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे. SA220 में भी इसके बारे में मेंशन है that quality of an audit should be maintained. SQC1 में जो क्वालिटी की बात हो रही है वो किसके लिए है? All engagements के लिए, है ना? Be it essays, audit, review, assurance या related services. But SA220 तो specifically about quality of audit बात करता है ना? तो it emphasizes. अच्छा, why there is so much emphasis on quality? See, when an audit firm is conducting an audit, when it is giving its report, when it is maintaining the audit documentation, so basically that audit firm is representing the ICAI. So the quality of the work should be maintained, ना? सबका क्वालिटी एक जैसा होना चाहिए ना. इंक्रीज्ड क्वालिटी होगा तभी तो पब्लिक कॉन्फिडेंस इन दी ऑडिटिंग एंड एश्योरेंस सर्विसेज विल बी इंक्रीज्ड, है ना? सो दैट इज व्हाई देयर इज सो मच एम्फेसिस ऑन व्हाट? सिस्टम ऑफ क्वालिटी कंट्रोल. सो नाउ दिस टॉपिक व्हिच इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, यू मे गेट अ डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू एनी ऑफ दीज 6 पॉइंट्स एज अ डिस्क्रिप्टिव क्वेश्चन, है ना? तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. अभी आई एम श्योर दैट कंप्लीट तो नहीं हो पाएगा, बट येस एटलीस्ट 2 पॉइंट्स आई वुड लाइक टू कवर टुडे इटसेल्फ. ठीक है? So a number of you have answered that, ma'am. 2. Yes, Saurabh Maurya, you are visible. Your answer has, I have received your answer and I have received it at least 20 times or more than that. So system of quality control. ठीक है? तो क्यों emphasis है? Because quality तो maintain करना ही है ना, और that cannot be maintained unless and until the audit firm ABC and Associates, in our example, it has a system of internal control. ठीक है? Now the firms is what? ABC and Associates, of who CA Amar is a partner, है ना? Who is the engagement partner in this case? Of quality control should include policies and procedures addressing each of the following elements. So there are 6 elements with respect to which each audit firm needs to have certain policies and procedures. So what are these? Leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm. तो leadership responsibilities है, तो ये किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? Quickly tell me. CA, what is the name? Leadership quality. Quickly tell me. In our example, where is the example? यहाँ पर जो फर्स्ट पॉइंट है वो है लीडरशिप क्वालिटीज. तो अब हम किसकी बात कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर? एबीसी एंड एसोसिएट्स की बात कर रहे हैं, सीए अमर की बात कर रहे हैं, सीए ब्रजेश की, सीए चैतन्य की. सो आंसर इज सीए अमर. ठीक है? सो एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर की बात होगी यहाँ पर. लीडरशिप रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज फॉर क्वालिटी विद इन द फर्म. व्हेन वी वर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट क्वालिटी, नंबर ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स हैव आंसर्ड दैट मैम ही शुड हैव लीडरशिप क्वालिटीज, है ना? देन एथिकल रिक्वायरमेंट्स, है ना? व्हाट आर एथिक्स? मॉरल वैल्यूज, है ना? हमें सिखाते हैं ना, वी शुड रिस्पेक्ट एल्डर्स. ऐसे ही देयर आर सर्टेन मॉरल वैल्यूज, एथिक्स, है ना, which our auditing profession, the members in this auditing profession, they should pursue, they should follow. ठीक है? So what are those? Then acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagements, human resources, engagement performance and monitoring. ठीक है? So these are the 6 points that we will be discussing one by one, and I'm repeating it again, very important topic. ठीक है? So leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm. तो अभी हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं? That within ABC and Associates, कैसे टीम में leadership responsibilities किसकी हैं? engagement partner की. How will engagement partner motivate others to maintain the quality of the audit firm, of the audit work? So it is the responsibility of the engagement partner to tell the other members in his team that how important is quality, what all factors are there that are important to maintain the quality of the work of the audit. ठीक है? So in our example, see, Amar is the engagement partner. I'll read the definition again. So partner or other person in the firm who is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and is in full-time practice and is responsible for the engagement, its performance, and for the report that is issued on behalf of the firm, and who, where required, has the appropriate authority from the professional, legal or regulatory body. ठीक है? Clear? So, leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm. So it says that the actions and the messages of the engagement partner, CA Amar in our case, such his actions and his messages should emphasize on two things. Okay? It is the responsibility of the leader, that is the engagement partner, that is CA Amar in our case, that the actions and the appropriate messages should emphasize to the team what? Second point, we will do second point again. His action should be such that it should emphasize that quality is essential throughout performing the engagement. See, if the engagement partner is lenient, he is least bothered about the quality, so will be his team. So his actions, his messages should emphasize that quality of audit work is essential in performing the engagement, throughout the engagement, from the very beginning till the end, throughout it is very, very essential. है ना, वो अपने एक्शन से, अपने मैसेजेस से जो भी है ये ही कन्वे करे. He should emphasize on the quality being essential for performing the engagement. Then point number 1, he will emphasize through his actions, through his messages, that the following are very important to maintain the audit quality. So importance of following to audit quality, that if the team has to maintain the audit quality, they need to perform the audit as per the standards on auditing. They need to follow the firm's policies and procedures. See, standards on auditing are applicable to all the audit firms now. All the audit firms पे applicable होएगा ना. So when the team is conducting the, it is performing the audit procedures, it is conducting the audit, it should be as per the standards. Why? Because it is very important for audit quality. Second point says that apart from these standards which are been issued by ICAI, the firm's internal policies, firm is what? ABC and Associates here. इसका भी तो कुछ internal firm का भी तो कुछ internal policies and procedures होगा ना with respect to the quality of audit work. So that should also be followed. Then it says that the actions and the messages of the engagement partner should emphasize that the report should be appropriate in order to ensure audit quality. See, what is the end product of the audit? The audit report. If appropriate audit report is given, appropriate audit report is delivered, then only we can say na there is audit quality, right? And last, there should be the members in the team, they should raise the concerns without any fear. So what is this point? Let us first have a look at the module, then I'll explain you this fourth point. See, Krishna, there is a concept of joint audit, which you will be doing in chapter number 10. Your doubt will get cleared in chapter number 10. ठीक है? So देखो, हमने क्या पढ़ा? Leadership responsibilities for the quality of an audit. Essay 220, quality control for an audit of financial statement. है ना? So I told you the same points are contained in SQC1 also. But you all know that SQC1, standard on quality control, is for all the engagements. और इस SA220 किसके लिए है? For audit. है ना? So quality control for audit of financial statements. The engagement partner shall take responsibility for overall quality on each audit engagement to which the partner is assigned. ठीक है? Who is an engagement partner? Refers to a partner or other person in the firm who is responsible for audit engagement, performance, auditor's report that is issued on behalf of the firm, and who, where required, has the appropriate authority from a professional, legal or regulatory body. Now, the actions of the engagement partner CA Amar, and appropriate messages to the other members of the engagement team. अब CA Amar alone, he is not conducting the audit ना, इसके साथ और भी तो team members हैं ना, some article assistants are there, some qualified CA are there. So with respect to the team, he should convey appropriate messages to the other members in the team in taking responsibility of the overall quality of each audit engagement. Overall quality के लिए who is responsible engagement partner? So he should emphasize on what? The importance to audit quality of that. All these 4 points are important for audit quality. What all? Performing work that complies with professional standards and regulatory and legal requirements. And students, when we are doing these 6 points now, here, you will see that this line is repeated n number of times, like again and again. Okay? Complying with the firm's quality control policies, procedures as applicable, issuing auditors report that are appropriate in the circumstances. So is the case with this line. है ना? ये आप देखना कि बार-बार ये लाइन आती है that professional standards, regulatory and legal requirements के according work हो रहा है ना, that appropriate report is been issued in this, which is appropriate in the circumstances. And see, this was the 4th point. Engagement team's ability to raise concern without fear of reprisals. Reprisals is what? Punishment. So if the article assistants during the conduct of audit, if they find that any of the, let's say, the traveling expense of a huge amount, it has been, that expense is what? Fake. But the same has been reimbursed. So they should not have fear in raising that concern. If any information is not been given to the article assistant or to the audit team by the management, they should not fear of reprisal, of punishment. कि अगर मैं अपने engagement partner को बताऊंगा, I'll be punished. No. They should raise the concerns without fear. Just think logically, na, then only the quality of the audit work will improve. अगर कोई डर के काम करेगा तो थोड़ी ना quality आएगा. ठीक है? So importance of to audit quality of what? Standards के according करो, internal policies and procedures के according करो, audit report appropriate होना चाहिए, and without fear raise concern करेगा कौन? The engagement team. And the fact that quality is essential in performing audit engagements. So this was our point number 1 with respect to what? Leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm. You may get a direct question that one of the elements of the system of quality control is leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm. Explain. Okay? Clear? Okay? Now, ethical requirements relating to audit of a firm. Ethical requirements relating to audit of a firm. Very, very important. Here we will be discussing concepts of integrity, objectivity, independence. डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे. प्रोफेशनल कंपीटेंस, ड्यू केयर, प्रोफेशनल बिहेवियर. द कंपनी पेज द फीस ना, प्रणव. ICAI थोड़ी ना ऑडिट फीस पे करेगा. ठीक है, इज इट क्लियर? सो एथिकल रिक्वायरमेंट्स रिलेटिंग टू ऑडिट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. ठीक है. नाउ क्विकली सेंड इन योर रिप्लाईज. लीडरशिप क्वालिटीज, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी समझ आती है. एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर को डिफाइन किया हमने. फिर हमने बोला कि जो एक्शंस एंड जो उनके एप्रोप्रिएट मैसेजेस है ना, दैट शुड एम्फसाइज फॉर व्हाट? The importance of following to audit quality and the fact that quality is essential. Engagement partner क्या होता है ये हमने पढ़ा. Now tell me what is meant by ethics. Ethical requirement relating to an audit of financial statement. Ethics क्या होते हैं? Quickly send in your replies. So Mohammed has answered it correctly. Send in your replies. So ethics are what? Moral values. ठीक है. So we are discussing what? The second point, which is ethical requirements relating to audit of financial statements. Now see students, there are ethical values, है ना? that values which are put by the society or our parents, है ना, जैसे हमें सिखाया जाता है we should respect elders, है ना, we should never tell lie, है ना. So these are what ethical values. Same way with respect to various profession, there are certain ethical values. For example, in doctors there is one Hippocratic oath na, so that is what ethical value. So same way with respect to auditing profession, there are certain ethical values, and there is a code, IAASB code. Let me just write it. IAASB code, which is what? Achha, it is mentioned in International Ethics Standard Board of Accountants Code. है ना? ठीक है? Which says that there are 5 fundamental principles of professional ethics. So when a person is conducting an audit, these 5 fundamental principles should be there. ये वाला ethical values या moral values को तो follow करना ही करना है relating to an audit of financial statements. So ये कौन सा code है? IAASB code. IAASB is the short form, International Ethics Standard Board of Accountants. ठीक है? Clear? So what are these values? Integrity होनी चाहिए, objectivity should be there, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. We will be discussing all these one by one. Quickly tell me, what do you understand by the term integrity? Book में से देख के मत बताना, वैसे ही सोच के बताओ. Quickly send in your replies. I'm waiting for your replies. Students, send in your replies. So, honesty. Mariam is saying, Dhyanesh is saying honest, Krishna is saying honest, Ashok Joshi is saying truthfulness, Jyoti is saying truly, no cheating, Ami is saying, Sapna is saying true and fair. See, integrity. It means that the auditor, he should be what? Straightforward and honest. Integrity. है ना? He should be fair. There should be truthfulness, and the auditor should not associate herself or himself with what? Misleading financial statement. जहां पर auditor को पता है that these financial statements are misleading, है ना? They should not get associated. That is, they should not sign such misleading financial statement. Integrity, है ना? ये तो होना ही चाहिए. Fundamental principles of professional ethics. कहां से पता चलता है हमें? IAASB कोड से. ठीक है? ठीक है? Integrity. Now tell me the second one, objectivity. What do you understand by the term being objective? Objective क्या होता है? Send in your replies. So objectivity. See, being objective means being unbiased. है ना? That the opinion of the auditor, it should not be influenced. है ना? The auditor will not to compromise with his professional judgment. है ना? ये आंसर है तो है. ठीक है? मैनेजमेंट नहीं इन्फ्लुएंस कर सकता. So not to compromise the professional judgment because of bias. You should not be biased towards the management. है ना? Unbiased, uninfluenced होना चाहिए. ठीक है? Clear? Fair. Right. प्रोफेशनल कॉम्पिटेंस एंड ड्यू केयर क्या? कॉम्पिटेंस क्या कि अपना काम आना चाहिए, the ability or the skill that is needed for something. अगर accounts, law, economics, mathematics, statistics ये सब आना चाहिए तो आना चाहिए. Professional competence. And due care is what? The auditor should be diligent. Diligent is what? Careful. The auditor should not be reckless. Reckless क्या होता है? Careless. है ना? So, and diligence, the term I am using the term diligence. Diligence क्या होता है? Careful. Doing the work on timely basis. ठीक है? Then, is it clear? The third point. Let me just take you through the module side by side. तो ethical requirement कहाँ है? IAASB कोड में दिया गया है. Professions like law and medicine have their what? Ethical values. So auditing profession is no exception. Rather, in profession of auditing, importance of ethics it's manifold. Why? Because here the finances are involved, है ना? तो ethics तो होना ही होना चाहिए. So following are the fundamental principles of professional ethics relevant to the auditor when conducting an audit of financial statement. So integrity, it requires the auditor to be straightforward, honest in all business and professional relationship. Fair dealing होनी चाहिए, truthfulness होने चाहिए, should not get associated with reports, returns, communications, that is he should not sign which he believes contains a materially false or misleading statement. ठीक है? Objectivity क्या होता है? The principle of objectivity requires an auditor not to compromise the professional judgment because of bias, conflict of interest, undue influence, है ना? If let's say in as per auditor's professional judgment, the financial statement do not reflect a true and fair view, but since he is biased towards the client, he is saying that it represents a true and fair view. Manifold means a number of times. Pranav. Yes, Mehak, you are right. ठीक है? Professional competence and due care, it requires auditor attains and maintains professional knowledge and skill at the level required to render competent professional service based on current technical and professional standards. Outdated नहीं होना चाहिए. ठीक है? And legislation, and also to act diligently, that is to act carefully in a timely manner and in accordance with technical and professional standards. Diligence means responsibility to act carefully and on timely basis. Simple hai. Now confidentiality. Tell me, can an auditor just see, auditor is in possession of, he is aware about the financial information of a client. So confidentiality is very, very important. It should not happen that the auditor is going and telling everyone that they are having finances of so and so, their going concern is in danger. So the auditor should maintain what? Confidentiality. So confidentiality principle requires an auditor to respect the confidentiality of information acquired as a result of professional and business relationship. Okay? So confidentiality, it requires an auditor to respect the confidentiality of information. That is, he should not reveal the confidential information, though there are certain exceptions. Like it says, you will read it in the further chapters to come, that if the law requires, the auditor may have to reveal the information. For example, students, today I told you about fraud. कि अगर फ्रॉड हो रहा है तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को कुछ रिपोर्टिंग है जो हम चैप्टर नंबर कहाँ करेंगे? चैप्टर नंबर 5 में करेंगे. नाउ द ऑडिटर इज रिपोर्टिंग इट टू द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ना, तो ऐसा थोड़ी ना कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी हैम्पर हो गई. नहीं, इफ इट इज रिक्वायर्ड बाय लॉ, ऑडिटर में डिस्क्लोज इट टू द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एज गिवन इन योर चैप्टर नंबर 5. Clear? Then professional behavior. It requires an auditor to comply with relevant laws and regulations and to avoid any conduct that he knows or should know might discredit the profession. See, our profession, it is a very learned profession and a very respectable profession. So the conduct of any auditor, it should not bring discredit to the profession or any bad name to the profession. Okay? So is it clear? Simple hai, na? So the fundamental कि ये तो होने ही होने चाहिए. So what are all these? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. Is it clear? Okay. Now students, all these things, integrity, objectivity, है ना? Let's say these two things, integrity and objectivity, and one more is what? Professional skepticism. Now, what is professional skepticism? I'll discuss it with you in the next session. So, integrity and objectivity won't be possible unless and until auditor is what? Independent. है ना? इंटीग्रिटी हमने क्या पढ़ा था? बीइंग ऑनेस्ट. तो अगर ऑडिटर इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं है of the client organization, so chances are there that he is not honest. Same way, if auditor is not independent, so chances are there that he will be biased. ठीक है? So that is why the next topic is what? Independence. है ना? So the auditor should be independent of the entity subject to audit. The code describes independence, and now independence as described by the IAASB code is of two types: independence of mind and independence in appearance. ठीक है? So अभी I'll discuss this independence topic, है ना? अभी I cannot leave this topic in between, but let me just have a look at the queries till now, and please tell me whether the ethical requirements, 5 ethical requirements, that is what? Integrity, objectivity, competence and due care, professional competence, due care, confidentiality, professional behavior. Is it clear? And how independence is related? So we are saying unless and until the auditor is independent, he cannot exercise integrity or objectivity. So that is why independence is important. So Kabit is saying to repeat confidentiality. देखो, the auditor is in possession of financial information. उसके सामने financial statements है ना, वो सब कुछ discuss करता है management के साथ, है ना? So he is in possession of a huge information about the finances of a company. So it should not happen that he is disclosing that information to other apart from the company and the as required by law and regulation. So the auditor should maintain what? Confidentiality. He should keep that information to himself. He should not share that information with a person who should not know such information. Okay? Suppose some information is there which might have an impact on the share prices. So he should not, share or publicly share or discuss that information with anyone. Krishna, your doubt is not clear. So please repeat it. Rewrite your doubt. And Kabit, is your doubt with respect to confidentiality clear? ठीक है? So see, Saurabh. So objective is what? Yes or no. है ना? जब आपको ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप क्वेश्चन मिलते हैं तो वो क्या होता है? आप क्या लिखते हो? येस और नो, है ना? आपको पता होता है दैट दिस इज क्लियर, दिस इज राइट और दिस इज रॉन्ग. सब्जेक्टिव क्या होता है? जहां फट्टे मारते हो, डिस्क्रिप्टिव टाइप क्वेश्चन, है ना? जहां पे यू हैव अ लॉट टू राइट. सब्जेक्टिव, तभी तो कहते हैं ना मैनेजमेंट जजमेंट इज सब्जेक्टिव, बिकॉज इट वेरीज फ्रॉम पर्सन टू पर्सन ना. It varies from person to person. But objective में if I give you example of true false, तो वो तो फिर सबके लिए same है ना. ठीक है? Is it clear, Saurabh Maurya? ठीक है? Is it clear? Now independence. अब independence होता क्या है? ठीक है? So if you remember in the last session I told you the definition starts with what? It is an independent examination. So the Hindi meaning is what? Swatantra. है ना? That the auditor should be swatantra. He should be independent. He should not get influenced by the client. है ना? So the judgment of the person is not subordinate to the wishes of the person who has engaged him. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि ऑडिटर की जो ओपिनियन है वो किसके ऊपर डिपेंड करती है? क्लाइंट के ऊपर. इट शुड नॉट बी सबऑर्डिनेट टू द विशेस ऑफ द पर्सन हु हैज एंगेज्ड हिम. देखो, द जजमेंट ऑफ अ पर्सन इज नॉट सबऑर्डिनेट टू द विशेस डायरेक्शन ऑफ अनदर पर्सन हु माइट हैव एंगेज्ड हिम. सबऑर्डिनेट मतलब ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि जैसा जैसा क्लाइंट बोल रहा है ऑडिटर वैसा वैसा बोल रहा है. ठीक है? फर्दर इट सेज दैट see, independence just by making the rules it cannot be ensured that independence will be followed. है ना, rules तो सारे बनते हैं, but rules break भी हो जाते हैं. So that is why this quote says, IAASB quote says that independence of mind should be there and independence in appearance should be there. So very important concepts, है ना. Straightforward question भी आ सकता है descriptive में, that what are the two types of independence defined by the code of ethics of professional accountants, ठीक है. Or you may get a question as to define independence of mind or independence in the appearance, ठीक है. तो देखो हमने क्या बोला कि independence क्या होता है, that the judgment of the person is not subordinate to the wishes of the person who has appointed that person, है ना. क्लाइंट के कहने के अनुसार नहीं चलेगा ऑडिटर, ठीक है, as per the मतलब when the opinion is concerned. So and we further discuss that just by making the rules independence cannot be ensured, क्योंकि rules तो break हो जाते हैं. So first of all, independence of mind, that the concept of independence should be there in the mind of the auditor, है ना. Auditor should have such state of mind that his opinion is not being influenced by any individual, है ना. वो ऐसे state of mind में होना चाहिए that he is independent. He should exercise integrity. He should exercise objectivity. He should exercise professional skepticism. Professional skepticism क्या होता है मैं अभी बताऊंगी आपको, but अभी ये समझो. Independence of mind. So the state of mind that permits the provision of an opinion without being affected by the influence allowing an individual, without being affected by influences, किसी के भी influence में नहीं आ रहा, ऐसा state of mind होना चाहिए. आपने rules बना दिए, but auditor independent हो ही नहीं पा रहा है, उसके mind में क्या है, he is related to me, है ना. So it should allow an individual, an auditor, to act with integrity, straightforward, honest, exercise objectivity, unbiasedness and professional skepticism. देखो professional skepticism का मतलब क्या होता है वैसे, being of questioning mind, कि अगर आपके आगे सामने कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट आया है ना, you will start asking questions that okay, this building was purchased, why, okay, depreciation was charged, how it was calculated. So questions come to the mind. But if you are not independent, obviously you will not be honest. Chances are there. Unbiased भी नहीं होगे, objective नहीं होगे, and you will also not doubt. Let's go back to our example when we discussed independence in the last session, that if a son is appointed as the auditor of the company of the father of that son, so if he is not independent, obviously he'll not question the financials of his father's company. So he'll not exercise what? Professional skepticism. He will not exercise objective because वो influence तो हो ही जाएगा ना अपने father से. And he will not be honest. That is, he cannot exercise what? Integrity. So सिर्फ rules बनाने से कुछ नहीं होता है. The independence should be a state of mind that permits the provision of the opinion without getting affected by the influences, thereby allowing an individual to act with integrity, exercising objectivity and professional skepticism. प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म को बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल में अभी नेक्स्ट सेशन में पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है. फर्दर इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ माइंड तो है, ठीक है, सो दैट इज तो रिक्वायर्ड. ऑल्सो इंडिपेंडेंस इन अपीयरेंस भी होना चाहिए, है ना. इट शुड नॉट हैपन दैट द ऑडिटर इज एक्सरसाइजिंग इंडिपेंडेंस इन माइंड, है ना, बट ऑन द अदर हैंड ही इज एक्सेप्टिंग expensive gifts from the client. Independence in appearance, है ना. It should not happen. That what is meant by independence of appearance? That to a third party, that auditor should also appear to be independent. So the avoidance of facts and circumstances that are so significant that the third party would reasonably conclude an auditor's integrity, objectivity, professional skepticism has been compromised. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि third party को देख के लगे कि this auditor is not independent. ये तो let's say the company has organized a trip to Switzerland for the entire family of the auditor. So auditor mind में तो है कि I'll exercise integrity, objectivity and professional skepticism. But to third person, like an employee in the organization or any other person who will look at this transaction whereby the auditor is going on a tour, on a world tour on the expenses of the company. So it is not appearing. It is not appearing. So that is why there should be avoidance of facts and circumstances that are so significant that a third party would reasonably conclude an auditor's integrity, objectivity, professional skepticism has been compromised. Okay? So this line very, very important. Direct question aa sakta hai that this line is written and explained. So independence of the auditor has not only to exist in fact, but also appear to exist to all reasonable persons. So it is talking about what? Independence of mind. जो किसके mind में होगा? Auditor के. है ना, कि उसको पता है कि मेरे को इंडिपेंडेंट रहना है, मेरे को ऑब्जेक्टिविटी, इंटेग्रिटी, प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म एक्सरसाइज करना है. एंड टू थर्ड पार्टी ऑल्सो ही शुड अपीयर टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट. है ना. सो एनी फैक्ट और सर्कमस्टांसेस जिससे थर्ड पार्टी को लगे दैट ऑडिटर का प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म, ऑब्जेक्टिविटी, इंटेग्रिटी कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो रहा है, ऐसा मत करो. उसको क्या करो? अवॉइड करो. ठीक है. प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म आई टोल्ड यू दैट आई विल बी टेकिंग अप इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन, बट अभी किसी का डाउट है तो आई जस्ट इन ब्रीफ टेल यू. प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म मीन्स टू बी ऑफ क्वेश्चनिंग माइंड. कि अगर आपके सामने कोई भी ट्रांजैक्शन है, कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट है, सो ऑडिटर नीड्स टू अप्लाई प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म थ्रू आउट द ऑडिट. कि उसके मन में डाउट आने चाहिए कि अच्छा ऐसा किया है, क्यों किया है, कैसे किया है, कब किया है. ही शुड आस्क नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. पर अगर आप इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं हो, आप किसी को क्वेश्चन नहीं करोगे ना, है ना. जैसे आई गेव यू एग्जांपल ऑफ व्हाट? फादर सन. तो द सन विल नॉट आस्क द फादर ना, व्हाई फादर देयर हैज बीन एन इंक्रीज ऑफ लेट्स से अ रेंट लास्ट ईयर 10,000 वाज पेड, दिस टाइम 50,000 60,000 इज पेड पर मंथ. The son might not ask if he is the chartered accountant, he is the auditor of father's company, है ना. So professional skepticism, asking the question, है ना, being of questioning mind. So is it clear? So this was with respect to your independence. With respect to independence, there are two more concepts, that is threat to independence. कि कुछ खतरा होता है independence को auditor की. फिर उसके लिए क्या solution दिए हुए हैं? What are the safeguards to independence? तो auditor क्या करे जिससे कि threats to independence ना आए. Then we will be doing professional skepticism. ठीक है. So as many of you are saying that ma'am आज बहुत ज़्यादा discussion हो गया, तो ठीक है, I'll not proceed, I'll not take any new topic. But yes, next 5 minutes I'll just revise this elements of a system of quality control, and then I'll take up your doubts. ठीक है. And Mohammed, you can send in your queries of previous class also. So send in your queries. So elements of quality, system of quality control, we have said that the audit firm needs to have a quality control system which should include policies and procedures addressing 6 matters. So 2 matters are what? Leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm and ethical requirement. So leadership quality, SA 220, which is what the name is quality control for an audit of financial statement. It says that एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर का है रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी फॉर ओवरऑल क्वालिटी. उसके लिए वो क्या करे? हिज एक्शन एंड हिज एप्रोप्रिएट मैसेजेस शुड emphasize on what? That the fact that quality is essential for performing audit engagements, and that the following are important for audit quality. What are following? That performing the work which complies with the professional standards, regulatory and legal requirements, complying with firm's quality control policies and procedures, issuing auditors report that are appropriate in the circumstances, and engagement team's ability to raise concern without reprisals. Reprisals is what? Fear of what? Punishment. Ethical में we have seen IAASB code is there. Again, this is under IFAC only. So, what are these 5 fundamental principles? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due care, confidentiality, professional behavior. But ये सब आप नहीं कर सकते unless and until you are independence. Independence क्या होता है? That the opinion is not subordinate to the wishes of the person who has engaged you. Independence हमने देख लिया, but ये rules बनाने से नहीं होता. Independence of mind and independence in appearance होना चाहिए. Mind क्या है? ऐसा state of माइंड जहां ऑडिटर का ओपिनियन इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं हो रहा है and it allows that auditor to act with integrity, objectivity, professional skepticism. In appearance क्या है? You should avoid avoidance of facts and circumstances that are so significant that a third party would reasonably conclude that auditor's integrity, objectivity, professional skepticism have been compromised. So independence of the auditor has not only to exist in fact, but also to appear to exist to all reasonable persons. ठीक है, clear? कोई doubt है? So let me just have a look at your queries and then we will end the session for today. See this confidentiality ये audit partner पे है, engagement partner पे, and it is for the audit firm also ना. Audit firm भी थोड़ी ना कोई और partner थोड़ी ना बाहर जाके बता सकते हैं, उसको allowed थोड़ी ना ऐसे. See, with respect to if any CA is not following, any auditor is not following all those, so he's all these professional ethics, so he is held guilty of professional misconduct, which you will be studying in detail in your finals. ठीक है, प्रणव? नहीं, whose doubt was this? Akanksha. ठीक है, assertions का definition was left in the last session, so I'll take that up in the next session. And before coming for the next session, I would have uploaded the questions and everything, so please practice them and then come. So paper pattern I have already discussed with you. Whose doubt is this? So I have already discussed with you, na? Ashwin, let me just show it to you again. So this is the paper pattern. See, Ayush, there is a separate standard on auditing with respect to going concern, SA 570. And your doubt will be clear when we will do that in chapter number 3. So Anamika, it is a good thing na, that you have understood everything. So, Murtaza Ali is saying, is it the responsibility of the, a very good question, is it the responsibility of the firm or the engagement partner to maintain quality? देखो, यहाँ पर we are discussing about what? Firm system. तो फर्म को तो क्वालिटी मेंटेन करनी है ना. फर्म ही तो ऑडिट, फिर फर्म इज अपॉइंटेड एज एन ऑडिटर ना, तो एबीसी एंड एसोसिएट्स को ये सारी पॉलिसीज अपने इंटरनल बनाने हैं. फर्दर एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर क्या है रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, इट इज गिवन इन पॉइंट नंबर E. ठीक है, मुर्ताजा. So you can send in your queries through this mode only, Ayush. Okay. So students, let's do one thing. So we have done a number of important topics today, starting with inherent limitations of audit, then standard setting process, then qualities of auditor, and these system of quality control. Okay. We have done 2 points. So before ending the session for today, I would like to request you again that please go through the module, including the illustrations and examples till where we have done. In case of any doubt, please send in your queries. And yes, assertion topic is left, a definition is left, which I'll take up in the next session. Before coming for the next session, I would have uploaded the questions. So please just go through those questions before coming for the session so that I can take up your queries. If time will permit, I'll definitely discuss all the questions. Okay? So please also write whether you have understood or not, because I'm trying my level best to simplify the very new concept of audit to all of you. Okay? So thank you for being a patient listener. Thank you for making this session interactive. And please do the homework and then come for the next session. Thank you and good night.